Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to the Lionel podcast, or Lionel Travel podcast. This is episode number 9. If you hear a lot of beeping in the background, it's because we're currently in a hotel in Alexandria, Egypt, and people love to honk here. So, we're currently on day 20 of an intrepid tour through Jordan and Egypt, and I am today joined by one of my fellow tour members and now friend, Wolf. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
G'day everybody. So my name's Wolf. I'm from Australia, so Lionel and I are practically neighbours, and we've been stuck together since Amman in Jordan, the start of this 22-day tour that we're currently on.
Yep.
And I think we're on day 20.
Yeah, so nearly at the end of it.
Nearly at the end of it. Yeah, he's nearly got to not put up with me anymore. So we've both joined at the same time in Amman, Jordan. We've now found ourselves in Egypt. It's been an absolutely hectic roller coaster ride the whole way through.
Yeah.
Ups and downs, goods and bads, mostly goods, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Happy to be here. This is my first time doing a podcast, so I'm rather keen to find out what it's like and be a part of the discussion.
Yeah, sounds great. Wolf, I have done quite a bit of travel prior to this tour.
Done quite a bit of travel prior to this tour. Is that what you call what you've been doing, mate? Far out. Yeah, okay. Let's just set the bar there, shall we?
Yeah, do you want to go into what you've been up to?
Yeah, okay. So, much like Lionel, I've also been travelling prior to this, not nearly as long. I started mid-year, so I started at the start of June. Prior to leaving Australia, I lived on a place called Horn Island up in the Torres Strait, off the Cape York tip of Queensland. I left home and I've been travelling ever since. We're now at the 1st of October, start of October, so what's that? 4 months, almost to the day.
Yep.
I've been to, this is country number 10 for me so far in the travels. I started out by going to the States. I went to the US. I only did the Southwest, and I went there to do another intrepid tour as well. Starting in LA, Los Angeles. So I went to the home of all the movie stars. Didn't see any of them, didn't want to, but that's where it started out. So I spent a few days there. And then I was on an 18-day tour through the wilds of California, Nevada and Utah predominantly. And it was a hiking and camping tour. So leaving LA, went through Cali, stopped at a couple of places like Joshua Tree National Park, then made our way to the Grand Canyon, and that was just absolutely mind-boggling, to be honest with you. I mean, it's one of those places, as is honestly a lot of the places I've been to and seen, where you see it in movies, you hear about it in songs, you see people put up posts about it, or you see pictures and stories in magazines, but being there and seeing it firsthand was a pretty phenomenal thing, I suppose. And I had the benefit of hiking down into it and doing a helicopter ride over and through it, because I figured if I'm going to pay the money to do a helicopter ride, it may as well be over the Grand Canyon. From there, did a quick stop into Vegas, and then made our way into Utah and did the 5 national parks within Utah. I don't even honestly know where to begin on that, because every single one of them was different and varied in their own right, and everyone was its own experience. The crew that I had on the tour was really good, mostly older. I was the youngest. And spent the better part of 2 weeks really going through the national parks of Utah, so Zion, the Arches. Honestly, I've got to remember the names of the others. I'll pull them up and find out. But it's been a really good time there. It was really interesting seeing the United States has not really always been on the top of my list. It's never really been on the top of my list, I think, because everything you hear and how different it is more about the people. But finally getting there was obviously some amazing people to meet. But I didn't realise how much the country itself had to offer. I mean, the vastness of it, very much like Australia, you can travel and travel and travel, and there's still so much further to go. There were similarities and differences in culture and people and the places themselves. But it was absolutely just mind-boggling to experience what it was like, the places that were there, what we did in those places, who we met. The national parks, I went to Zion National Park, which was beautiful with all the canyons and the rises and the mountains and all the rest of it around that. After that, made my way to Monument Valley. Met the Diné people, the local people there. After that, went to Moab, into Bryce Canyon, the Arches and all the others. Spent a couple of nights in Vegas. Holy smokes, man, that place is off chops. Like, I thought I'd been to some cities. I mean, I've been to Tokyo, I've been to a couple of other places, but that Vegas was just absolutely mental. Didn't stop, didn't sleep, people everywhere, and hot as buggery the entire time. So that was another eye-opener for me, and another perfect example of why I like living in the bush, away from all the people and the lights and the madness. And then after swinging back through Vegas, stopped through at Yosemite National Park in California, which was again a wonder to behold, and another place that's like so many others. You could spend weeks there. I spent 3 days. I could spend weeks there and do different trails and see different parts from different angles and all the rest of it. So that was phenomenal. So ended the tour there in San Francisco. So that was the first month of my travels, doing the States, and from there made my way down to Central America, down to Mexico City, and then spent a few days there. Got another culture shock, which was awesome unto itself, but also an opportunity for me to reevaluate how I am with people, how I view people, my expectations of other people, and all the rest of that sort of thing. And then I was on another Intrepid tour. So 15 days from Mexico City, all across the center, all the pyramids, the jungles, places, the people, the food. Jesus, the food. Food is absolutely delicious, but by crikey did I spend too much time on the dunny. I didn't have a solid number 2 for like a month, man, while I was in Central America, so that was hectic. Too much information, some of you mob listening, but just being real with you. And ended up in Playa del Carmen on the East Coast. And from there made our way down to Belize. Stayed at Key Corker on another island, and after about 2 months of travelling, honestly, it felt like coming home after living on an island myself back home, and the beaches, the water, the chilled atmosphere and what people were like, that was really nice to have a bit of a stop there and just cut loose a little bit. There was no tours there was no expectations. Went snorkeling and diving and all the rest of it off there. And then from Belize went to Guatemala. Spent a couple of weeks there, saw some more ruins and temples and a couple of other things, and also took the first opportunity after just over 2 months to kind of really stop for a few days, not partying, not going out, not running amok, not doing anything, just kind of sleeping and resting and drinking water rather than alcohol, which was a nice change. And then I left Central America from there and went up to Iceland.
Quite a jump.
Yeah, quite a jump. Quite a phenomenal, amazing jump. I mean, the difference between Australia and America, the difference between America and Central America, the difference between Central America and Iceland was just, honestly, I found them in their own ways polar opposites every time. Where I've been living in Oz and the States and Central America, at least the weather was pretty similar in terms of heat. I mean, you get drier heat and more humid heat, but I suppose the environment was kind of the same in certain ways. Yeah. But then going to Iceland, man, like that is just a big island of ice and volcanoes. Like that was just chronic. That was phenomenal, amazing, so different. I was really excited. I've always had a massive thing for particularly Greek, Egyptian and Norse mythology, so that was the closest I got to the Vikings, really. Did another Intrepid tour there, so I did an 8-day tour around the entirety of Iceland, starting in Reykjavik in the southwest, and went counterclockwise across the south, up the east, across the north, and back down the west coast, ending back in Reykjavik. From Iceland, I jumped over to the UK via Norway, but Norway I touched down on the ground, but hung around in the airport and then flew out. So I kind of do count it, but I kind of don't in the list of countries. Yeah. And then hit the UK, and only had about 3.5 weeks before I had to get to Jordan for this tour that we started. So as much as I wanted to do the lot, like England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, all the rest of it, I kind of had to pick one. So I chose Scotland because that's always been a pretty big one for me too. Got heritage from back that way, from back down the line. And yeah, so I spent 3 weeks or so travelling around there. Did the NC 500. That was amazing. The landscape through Scotland, the roads, man. Holy smokes, the roads. So much of the roads are like one lane, and they've got little turnout things just pretty much constantly. So it's instead of taking half an hour to do 50 Ks, you take about 3 hours to do 50 Ks because you can't drive fast and you're always stopping for other traffic. Jumped back down towards Heathrow in London and left the UK, flew to Jordan, Amman. Spent a few days there and then joined this lucky lad, who's, I say lucky because he had the pleasure of my company for so long, and started the adventure we've been on now. So, yeah, that's a very quick, short and sweet thing, but I suppose it gives you an idea of what I've been doing.
Yeah, no, that's been good.
We've had some, Lionel and I, we've had some conversations, haven't we, about the stuff that we've both done, and I'm not even going to try and keep up with all the places that you've been and all the stuff that you've done. But admittedly, you've had almost 6 months more than I have, so there was more time. And yeah, in a brief way, that kind of brings us up to where we are now.
All right. So, well, how many days were you in Amman before the tour started?
4 days, I think.
Oh, okay.
Well, and that's including the day we got there. So,
yeah,
3 sleeps.
What did you get up to before the tour?
Honestly, not a lot. We had accommodation pretty close to Paris Square, where we went up for dinner that night. The first night we all met. That accommodation wasn't very good, so we found another place, and that was honestly just on the other side of the square. And yeah, kind of took the opportunity to have a break, rest, eat some food, and just didn't do much. Both Iceland and the UK was pretty full on. We didn't really have any downtime. So the last downtime I had was back in Guatemala, which was a good 6 weeks prior. So yeah, honestly, I wanted to do very little before the tour started because I knew we were going to get back on the bus and start punching again. Yeah.
I think that is one thing that's pretty common with Intrepid tours, is they do like to make it quite concentrated in terms of, you know, bang, 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 you're getting through all of these really major sites, and there'll be some very full-on travel days as well. That's just to be expected with these types of tours. Yeah,
absolutely, man. I agree. I mean, some of them, I think... so my mother's a tour guide, and she actually works for Intrepid as well. That's part of the reason why we're doing all these tours, connections, and all that. But having talked to her with some of the tours she's done, she's generally back home in Oz had a focus on kind of the hiking tours, but she's done some others as well. And then my experience with the one in the States, the one in Central America, the one in Iceland, and now this one, I think a couple of them, like the one in Central America, we did have, like a couple of half days or a couple of days where we had kind of 3 days and an opportunity to do our own thing and either go and see more or rest and recuperate a little bit. Iceland was insane. That 8-day tour needs to be 10 or 11 days just because it was just full noise, 14-hour days, 8 days straight. Like, it was absolutely insane. And I mean, even, this tour that we've done, we have had some days to ourselves, but honestly, I think that started more when we got to Egypt. I feel Jordan was a little bit more one after the other, bang, 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 but I do think at least towards this later half of the Egypt tour that we've at least had a couple of afternoons to ourselves to rest. But it is pretty full on. And like you said, some of the driving days, so it's start in the morning and you drive for 7 or 8 hours, and that's all well and good when you're driving in your own car and doing what you do, but when you're in a bus full of people with everything else going on, it can get a bit much. But from what I've seen, we both seem to have the same habit of earbuds in and
clock out.
Yeah, man, clocking out and going off into our own little world. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah. Well, you need it.
You do.
I mean, when you travel as much as we do, like, you've been on your own for most of it. I've travelled with my mum and one of her mates, at least in Central America, and but even having even when you stop, like, there's people around all the time. So that ability to just put on some tunes, or put on a show or a movie, anime, whatever you want to watch, and just fading off into your own world. That's absolutely safety, coping, health, whatever sort of mechanism you want to call it. But I think it's almost vital. And I mean, now that we're in the day and age where these little beautiful, wonderful noise-cancelling earbuds exist, I think it'd be a shame if we didn't take full advantage of it.
Agreed. Cool. So then let's start with day one. So that would be the meeting day. And we're at the hotel
in Amman. Yep.
And there are, not including Martez, who's our tour leader for the Jordan part.
Yeah.
There are 10 of us.
Yeah.
And for me at least, this was the first Intrepid tour, so this is my 4th tour this year, where there was no age limit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yep. So the prior 3 tours were capped at 35.
Yep.
And now this group of 10, the mean age would be probably, mid to late 40s?
Oh, I'd say. I suppose with yourself, me and Andrea,
we bring
who were the 3 young. We had Jade and Josh as well.
Yeah.
They were early 30s, so I suppose, we brought it down. But, from, Andrea was 25 at the time, because she had her 26th birthday on the tour.
Yep.
So from 25 up to, I think, Bryce.
73.
73, yeah. So from 25 to 73 was a pretty decent gap there, with everybody sprinkled in between. So, absolutely right. Yeah.
And, that day it's just the same as any orientation day where you're just saying your hellos, and then we go out to have dinner, and
after you've done a few, man, like both of us, so this is my 4th as well.
Okay.
And you get to the point where it's like, another meeting, another orientation. So you go through the motions of, hi, my name is this, I'm from here, this is what I want out of the tour. Yeah, it's funny when after you've done a few, it's like, okay, here we go again. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just kind of sound it off.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you know what to expect. You know what's going to come and happen. And it is good, I think, still, because you get to meet the leader and you get to, at least have that initial face-to-face meeting with anybody. It still takes days to, I suppose, get a real gel going, get a real feel for everybody. But at least you can kind of get a basic idea of
Yeah.
maybe what you're in for, what people are going to be like, what they're going to look like, what they're going to act like, where they're from. So yeah, I think it's good. But at the same time, after the fourth tour and a couple of the other tours I did, which was similar to this one, where you had people disconnect and reconnect, like new people come in halfway through the tour or something. So then you've got another orientation to go to meet the newies and whatnot. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was my 7th orientation at the start of the 4th tour.
I think that was my 6th one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then we had the one in Egypt, so there's 8 and 7 for each of us. So 4 tours, but 8 and 7 orientations, man. Yeah. Yeah. So.
And well, the following day, if you don't mind, like getting the itinerary.
Yeah, bro.
Just
Absolutely.
to make sure I'm not going off course a bit. But was that the day that we then headed to Mount Nebo?
Yeah.
It was, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that was the day that we did that. So we did Mount Nebo first, and that was the prophet Moses. It was all about him, right?
Yeah. Which was really cool because we got to go into... It's a temple, church?
Yeah, a bit of both, I think.
Bit of both,
really, yeah. Or it used to be a temple, now it's a church.
Mm-hmm. And there's a really nice view overlooking... Oh, man. What was that facing? Is it like towards Israel?
Well, you had
Or...
the Dead Sea out in one direction.
Yeah.
You had Israel out past that.
Okay, yeah.
You had... can't remember... Wasn't there... There was another holy site to do with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And then there was the springs where...
True.
Moitez, our leader, was saying that was the spot where Moses slammed his staff into the ground and brought fresh water. So they were there as well. So honestly, from a point of religion, from their beliefs and all the rest of it, like it had significance in not only what it was itself, but the places that you could see from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, alright, after Mount Nebo...
So after Nebo, I think that was when we made our way towards the Dead Sea, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, so we end up taking our bus to this resort.
Yeah.
And Martez did warn us prior to arriving that when you get to the Dead Sea area, it's significantly hotter.
Hotter, yeah.
And there was this kind of walk where it was only a few meters, but going from where the lounge chairs are to the sea itself
Yeah.
was so hot.
I certainly felt the change, and I mean, particularly coming from Mount Nebo, like we were up a mountain, and then we drove, like it was only, a 40-minute drive or something.
Yeah, really close.
But the whole drive was down,
Yeah.
and like we started at that mountain and we just went down,
Yeah.
and then we went down, and then we went further down. Because the Dead Sea's, I think he said 450 metres below sea level.
Yeah.
And then, so rocking up at that resort, and then even walking from the resort down to the Dead Sea itself. And seeing those signs along the way that showed where the level of water had been, even since, I think, the first one was year 2000, so in 24 years, how far it had dropped, like that was pretty mind-blowing.
It was.
They said they didn't know what it was, but then we find out at the end that there's a bloody mine that's popped up just south of the Dead Sea, so I wonder where that war's gone. But yeah, no, that change in heat was extremely noticeable. Extremely noticeable.
Because I think when you guys, because we'd kind of split off a little bit before getting into the sea, but the group that I was with arrived before you guys. Yeah. And in hindsight, I should have done what you guys did and just brought my stuff like really close to the sea. But by that point, I'd already taken my flip-flops off. Yeah. And I was walking barefoot on those. It was like magma. No, like literally my feet were blistering.
And you've honestly got no excuse because you had pluggers on, man.
Yeah.
You weren't one of those muppets that went down there in shoes. You had the perfect opportunity to be wearing pluggers all the way down to the water's edge. But you were a little bit of a silly boy.
Yes.
See, just for everybody listening, I want you to know that I was a smart cookie.
Yeah.
And I'm that Aussie bloke that's getting around in Crocs, but I wore my Crocs down to the water's edge, so I was not walking across magma.
Yeah. Yeah, hindsight 2020 for any listeners that do end up doing the same. Yeah, please just bring whatever footwear you're wearing right up to the water because that stuff, it hurts real bad.
Yeah, man, and I mean, like the sun, it's just cooking. There's no clouds.
Yeah.
It's just hot. So you leave your towel, you can leave your shirt, you can leave whatever you want up on the chairs in the shade, but have your shoes, yeah, by crikey, take them down to the water's edge. Be
Please.
smart. Be smarter than Lionel. Don't make his mistakes.
I took the bullet so you wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Dear listeners.
And this is the thing, see, we're not sharing this now to make fun of him. Secretly, we kind of are. It's more of an educational moment for the rest of you.
Exactly. But burning aside, when we're all in the sea itself, because this was your first time.
Yeah.
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 How would you describe it?
Oh. I wouldn't honestly, and because like you said, my first time, every country I've been to has been my first time, so there's been so many new experiences.
Yeah.
But the Dead Sea, I think, was similar to like the Grand Canyon or some of the temples in Central America or the volcanoes in Iceland, because it's something, again, you hear about, you know it's there, you get told about it, particularly, right, so where we're going with this is two things. Number one, the saltiness, and number two, the buoyancy. But it is fair income, like, I imagine what gravity would be on the moon, because it just...
Yeah, that's a good way to...
You know, yeah, as soon as you walk into that water and you get to the point where you got nothing under and your weight's there, like you stand up straight. And you can do that. It's not like in water where, yeah, it's buoyant when you're laying on your back or you're laying on your front or anything. You can stand up in the water and the water will not come up past your chest.
Yeah.
And you can bounce yourself up and down, and it's just like, it's like moon gravity, I imagine. I mean, obviously I haven't been to the moon yet.
Next on the list.
Yeah, next on the list. Yeah, let's just that's totally tier one. You know, that's where I'm going to go next. Everywhere else, Earth can wait. I'll come back and do this closer to home.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was insane. Just the novelty of it, I think, and I don't think my brain. I don't know about you. I don't think my brain registered the stories. Everybody's saying how buoyant it is and how you can't sink and all the rest of it, but then to actually experience it, completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Definitely. You can try as hard as you want. You just cannot sink
Yeah.
in that water.
Hell no.
Yeah.
No, if you drown, it's because you did something stupid and you're laying face down in it, but that's it. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, even getting your head under would be an effort. You'd have to roll yourself upside down or find something to jump off to do a bomb. But as soon as you did a bomb and went under, you'd pop straight back up like a cork. I
think that'd be kind of fun, honestly.
I reckon it would be too. And I honestly wonder as well, I did have the thought go through my head when I was there, but for everybody listening as well, you're not supposed to put your head under. You don't want that stuff in your face or in your ears or anything, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't do this, but I honestly had the sick, twisted thought to just, because of how buoyant it was, if we did do a bomb, because you forced yourself down further, would you actually pop up like a cork? Like, would you maybe not leave the water, but would you get a little bit of lift, you know, when you...
I'd assume so.
Well, yeah. And it's a very small part of me wants to try it.
Yeah. Did you actually end up getting any of the water?
Nah, I was pretty careful with it. Yeah.
Because I got a teensy bit in my eye.
Yeah.
It stings really bad.
Oh, actually, no, yeah, you're right. I did get a little bit in my eye, but that's only because I had to scratch and had water on my hand and I got it in my eye.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was pretty careful because the other thing with my I got some piercings in my ears and stuff that they could tarnish from the water, so I was pretty careful to try and...
Oh, yeah, I remember you asking about that.
Yeah, keep everything up above.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was hectic. Yeah. And just because I'm a little bit of a sadistic bastard, I did put a little, like a one drop on my tongue.
Of course you did.
And oh my golly gosh, that stuff was horrible. So don't drink the Red Sea, everybody.
Yeah.
It's not good for your health or your soul.
Yeah. All right, then after the Dead Sea.
After the Dead Sea was the castle.
Yeah.
The castle, the Templars' castle, Karnak?
Kerak.
Kerak?
Yeah, Karnak's in Egypt.
Karnak's in Egypt, yeah. Kerak.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, I must admit. And I was, Kerak, you're right. Far out, making me look bad. That was cool. What did you think about that?
I enjoyed Martez's whole explanation of, like, you know, strategically placed to defend against all the invaders, and I don't know, there's just something about those, I don't know what is, like, the technical term of it is, but those slits where you have the archers that can shoot through it.
Yeah.
I always just thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
That it's like, you can't reach me, but I can totally get to you.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, the attacking force, if they did get you, it was a bloody good or a bloody lucky shot.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't picking people out of that window.
No, that's like a needle in a haystack kind of
Yeah,
deal,
man,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, I thought it was cool. I mean, I was a little bit of a rebel and wandered off on my own to kind of explore a bit.
As you do.
As I do. But I mean, some of those arrow slits I know just because I like medieval stuff. Like, part of it's for defense, but also part of it's for the like aeration of the castle, you know, airflow and all the rest of that sort of thing, and just visibility, being able to see what's going around. So that was cool. But also the tunnels and the rooms and stuff. Like, when I did take off on my own, I went down into places that the rest of the group didn't go, because initially when we got there, I took off up the top as high as I could go, and there was a really faded old sign there. But when I read that, it pointed out a couple of the key parts of the castle, but said that there was still so much not excavated. Like, there was still so much that was blocked up and everything, and they still hadn't got to. So that just made my mind go, oh, what's down here? What's to see? What's to find? And yeah, it was a lot more. I felt it would have been cool for more of the group to go down to the places I found, to give them a better idea of, I suppose, the extent that the castle went down and through, and winding corridors and all the rest of it. Like, yeah, that was pretty interesting. That was pretty cool. And as far as castles go, man, like, that thing would have been pretty defensible. Other than that, what was it? The southwest hill or something that was to the southwest of the castle.
That was the weakest point.
That was, the only weak point. Other than that, they built that thing with the intention of nobody taking it from them. Yeah, for sure. The Templar Castle.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, going back to the times of the Crusades and...
Yeah.
And you hear about, again, all of this stuff at school, and then actually, we're here.
Yeah.
You know? They were here.
Yeah.
So...
It's no longer a thing that... I mean, it's still that thing that happened, but it's, like you said, we're here.
Yeah.
We're there. We're seeing it. They walked these halls. They walked these... they walked it, they did it, they were there, they defended it, they fought in it, they drank in it, they slept in it. And yeah, it was definitely a weird thing, almost like time travelling.
Yeah, it's the closest thing we have.
It's the closest thing we got.
Yeah, the fact that these things, including, say, when you're in the Grand Canyon, because I end up going there as well when I was in the States.
Yeah.
When these things actually materialize in front of your eyes, there's just something profound about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I don't know, it's hard to put into words, and honestly, because I've still been on the trip, I haven't really talked to many people about it. I haven't tried to, so I guess we're kind of doing this for this first time, but stuff like the Grand Canyon and the temples and stuff in Central America, some of them, a lot of them restored, but a lot of them still not, and how many more there are that are still under mounds that they haven't unearthed yet. In Iceland, on like the day before I left Iceland, I went down it's the only place in the world you can go down into a volcano. And I went down into a volcano. And even the castles in the UK, like, going to all these places makes something that has only ever been in your imagination solid. makes it real, brings it to you and brings you to it. Like, it's just such a, I find in a way like kind of an out of body and at the same time very, very in body experience, if that makes sense. Yeah. Crazy.
It is. And we are also incredibly lucky that we get to do this as well, because the majority of the world will never experience the same thing.
Hell yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've had a brief conversation about this before. I've met people back home in Oz that, I don't know, it's a strange thing. You have some people that have never left home. They were born in a town, maybe they went to the next town, maybe they went to the next town after that, but they haven't gone further than 100 k's from where they were born and raised and grew up.
Yeah.
Anywhere. They haven't gone overseas, they haven't gone anywhere in Australia. And then I've met people that have never gone overseas, but they've toured Australia. And then I've met people that have born in Australia, have never been in more than 100 kilometres from where they grew up, but they've been to 50 countries around the world. And I think all of them have their perks in a way. I mean, look, if you're someone that grew up in one place, you stay there and you've never travelled, one would think that you'd have a wicked support system, you've got amazing friends and family there, and you know that place like nobody else is ever going to, like the back of your hand. People that have travelled their own country and not been overseas, I reckon that's pretty amazing too, because honestly, I think that's less common than the people that have been overseas and not done their own country, because the grass is always greener on the other side. People think that what isn't around them is going to be more impressive and it's going to be better. And then there's the people that have been to 50 countries but haven't, checked out their own doorstep. I've been lucky in that I grew up travelling Australia my entire life. I went to 16 schools plus did homeschooling. The only part really left for me to do is the Kimberley. Everywhere else I've pretty much done, and then I've started to do overseas. I think I'm up to like 17 or 18 countries now in total. So the experience I think of doing both, and I mean from talking to you, growing up in New Zealand, and you travel around there, like you've checked out your home door, your own doorstep. Yeah, you've checked that out, and then you've gone to Australia and you've seen a bit of that, and now you're traveling the world like you are. Like, I think that more than anything else is the thing that not a lot of other people do. Like doing both, checking out their own place and going to see what the world has to offer. I mean, jobs are cool and everything and all the rest of it, but for those of you listening, like, get out and see it, man. Buying a house is good, and if you've got a family and all the rest of it, like, I'm not saying that what you're doing or if you're doing things differently, it's wrong or it's bad, but if you can make the opportunity for yourself to get out and see part of the world, the expansive effect that's going to have on you, your mind, body, emotions, how you view yourself, how you view the world, it's worth it. It's worth spending the money, it's worth taking the time, it's worth taking the risk. It's an adventure worth having. It's an adventure worth doing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, on kind of weird tangent, but when we're in
side quest. I'm gonna give this to you, man, because you've heard me say it before.
Yeah.
And if anybody listening wants this as well, I can't even remember who I got this from, but it was a while back. But side quest. You've got a conversation going and someone has a weird idea, just side quest and go on the side quest. So please, sir, your side quest.
So when we were at Carrot Castle, that was actually when I first noticed your Pokemon tattoo. Yeah. Because I just remember like walking behind you and like, is that Charizard? Because like I saw the wolf, I saw the dragon, I'm like, okay, yeah, like I get it. I'm like, wait a second. It's, at first from a distance it's just really colorful.
Colours, yeah.
And then I had a double take. And I thought that was just a really cool surprise for me, because...
Well, I think that was kind of the thing that keyed us in, because You saw the Pokemon tattoo, that gave you an opening to talk to me about that, and then me finding out there was another nerd on the tour as well. It was like, choice, here we go, it's on now. We've got at least a mild feel for each other in this sort of avenue.
Yeah.
The Pokemon tattoo, I only got this done last year.
Yeah.
Ankle to knee on my right leg.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still more to come. But yeah, that was definitely an opening for us. That was funny. And then was it after that you saw Toothless?
Okay, it was the Pokemon tattoo. Then it was your back tattoo, which I thought was Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's right. Yeah.
Which it isn't.
Yeah.
But it could be.
If
you wanted it to be. And then it was Toothless.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was good. And then, that started a couple of conversations about anime and a couple of other things.
The rabbit hole.
The rabbit hole opened. We chased that thing down. And that was good, actually, because, I've gotten a couple of good suggestions off you from it, and I've even started a couple, so that was really good.
Yeah, no, that's always the best thing for an anime fan, is if someone actually takes your advice and watches the thing, and they enjoy it. I mean, it's just like the dopamine.
Yeah, man, it's a good thing,
through the roof.
Because and this is an interesting side quest. Because now we're going through the rabbit hole again. But it's a funny thing, I think, anime, or even that whole arena, really, from Pokemon to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then to more genuine anime and all the rest of it. Yeah. People that don't watch it and don't like it don't really understand what it is.
They don't get it.
No, they don't. They don't get it. I mean, as dicky as that sounds, they fair income don't get it, man. It's a genuine thing. But I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's definitely some pretty average, boring, and some sketchy and some weird stuff out there. But there's also some pretty sick stuff. So finding someone else that's genuinely interested. And you can bounce off each other with different things and all the rest of it. Yeah, absolutely. It's good. It's definitely good to find. Yeah.
And I guess for the listeners, a bit of context. I assume you guys know what I look like. I'm just like a Chinese kid, so pretty small in stature. Wolf here is not that. So I remember on the first day, which was the day before Carrot Castle.
Yeah.
And of course, or I can't say for everyone, but you tend to kind of put people in these pigeonholes of, that kind of thing. And okay, he's just a true blue Aussie bloke. And I could totally see the relation to Vikings and everything. You could totally cosplay as a Viking. No one would argue for 1 second that you don't have any sort of lineage. You. Yeah,
it's in there just a while back.
Yeah. Dude, just carry 2 battle axes right now. I wouldn't bat an eye, man.
Man, if we could go and find a shop that had 2 battle axes, I definitely would.
Some battle axes, some chainmail.
That was pretty. And I think, I suppose I don't actually. Honestly, I don't really see it. How big I am compared to other people, because. I'm not monstrously tall, but I'm tall enough that it counts. But it's more that I suppose size me in general.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is photos with other people. Yeah. That's what does it. Because in my day-to-day life, I honestly don't see it.
Right.
But then when a photo's taken of me next to other people and I see the photo, I'm like, oh, damn. You're small. And even then, that's the thing in my head. It goes, oh, you're small, because I don't see myself as that big. But yeah, it's pretty funny.
I guess especially in, say, Asia, or even here in the Middle East, where Jordanians, Egyptians are of the smaller stature.
Yeah.
And that kind of really emphasizes I am wolf.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, because when we met too, because I had a haircut recently, so I had long hair, and my hair's curly, so it's all puffy and standing out. I got the big beard and then covered in tattoos.
Yeah.
And then, but the funny thing you say that about the mob here, I think it was only yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
I was saying to Mum that when I walk around, since we've been in Jordan, since we've been in Egypt. And I haven't really put it into words, but it's a weird thing because I generally wear shorts and a singlet. I don't really get around in anything else. It's too warm, and this is what I'm used to wearing when I'm not in work gear.
Yep.
So when I'm walking around, I feel like I'm starting to get a sense of what it's like for famous people. It's mental, man. The amount of the looks I get from people, and it's funny. The Sheilas look at me like I'm not trying to blow smoke up my own rear here, but the Sheilas look at me like I'm some sort of Henry Cavill looking bloke, just giggling to themselves and the blokes look at me like I'm Dwayne the Rock Johnson or something. Like they size. I watch them, man. I watch their eyes go down and up, and just all the rest of it. It's so funny. It is interesting, but I must admit too, it's handy when we've been in places where there's just too many people because I can just walk through them and they get out of my way.
Yeah.
And then when the pesters, man, the people that pest us to buy stuff and whatnot, and I just put on the big boy voice and it's like, right, no.
Yeah.
And then just scatter to the wind.
I've seen that more than a handful of times.
But going back to what you said, I don't think you're alone in it. Like when you said about, when you first meet people, particularly in these sorts of settings, when you're going into a tour and there's a group of people together, you do put people in sections, I suppose. Like you do get ideas about people. I mean, I certainly did it when we were in Jordan. And without tooting my own horn, I think I got it all pretty lined up. And I mean, I think we ended up having a really good group.
Yep.
Which I don't think we absolutely, fully and completely gelled with everybody together until Dahab, which was like the end of it after we'd gone through Jordan and gone to Egypt. That was when I feel like, if that group stayed and was on this tour, like this half of this leg of the tour as well, like we just would have been wicked. But no, it was good, and it was the same thing of like, I don't know, it was. You seemed to me to be like on the quieter side, when everybody went around and did their names and where they're from and all that sort of gizmo. Yeah. It's like, righto, we've got an Asian little Kiwi here. But then you were still solid within yourself, and when spoken to or when you had something to say, you talk. But then when we started having stuff in common and working stuff out to talk, then I saw you and I was like, there he is. There he is. There's Lionel, righto. Now I've got more of a feel for it. Yeah. Not always so quiet after all. Once you find those things that tickle your fancy, mate, you come out to play a bit more. So that was good, finding that, for sure.
I think how I kind of put it is, for the most part, just because of the length of this trip of mine.
Yeah.
I'm constantly on battery saver mode.
Yeah.
Because I can't not. And
I'm not surprised. When did you start?
I started mid-February.
Right, man. I started at the start of June and I'm on battery saver mode a lot of the time. So starting mid-February, I'm not surprised at all, mate, that you hit battery saver mode, man. Far out. And I'm almost done. Like I've got maybe another month and a bit to go. You're still going till
end of the year.
End of the year.
Least, yeah.
You still got months to go, bro. So you are definitely on battery saver mode, and completely understandable the whole way through.
Cool. Yeah. So after
the castle. That was Petra, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Petra. Do you want to start that one?
Yeah, sure. Petra is just this expanse.
This is why I said, do you want to start it? Because how much? Like, I don't even know where to start.
To get into it, right?
Yeah.
It's just this huge expanse of ancient Jordanian buildings and tombs and castles. There was a monastery.
The treasury.
Even
the entry canyon, like even the ravine that we entered through.
Yeah.
Like even that.
It's one of the most beautiful places that I've visited on this trip. And there's a reason why it's known as one of the modern world wonders.
Yeah.
Just the sheer natural beauty, and I think the fact that these buildings and structures were made from the sandstone that was already there and it wasn't, you know, bringing whatever from another country or
Yeah.
even another region. It's all just
Carved out of the mountains.
on site.
Yeah.
Just so spectacular, and I mean, you could see it in everyone's faces.
Oh.
They were just so blown away by it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest, not one of the biggest, Jesus. I don't even know where to go with that thing, to be honest. I mean, even the walk through the ravine before we even got to the treasury and seeing the, that tunnel they dug for the water to go through so it didn't go into the ravine, like blocking that off, the ingenuity of the water pipes and channels that were along the sides of the ravine going through. So even that in itself had its little things, and then walking out onto that treasury was just the mass of it, the finesse of it as well, for something so big and so dominating to be carved with such finesse. Like, I think that really, for me, that's the only word that can really do it. The
Attention to detail.
Yeah, attention to detail, the pictures, the pictograms, the statuettes and all the rest of it, the reliefs, I suppose, in it was amazing. Mm-hmm. And then that was honestly such a small part of it. Yeah. Like, so answer me this. Did you have any idea, and I mean any fathomable idea, that Petra was as big as it was?
No. I thought it was just the treasury.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think I maybe in a small corner of my mind might have seen a couple of photos about a couple of other little things, but yeah, same. I thought it was the treasury and maybe a couple of little huts next to it or something. Yeah. But that place was off chops.
Yeah, we didn't even cover the majority of it.
No, we spent a day there. And for everybody listening, when we say we spent a day, we spent a day. Yep. Like, we started early, and we didn't get back until, I don't even know. I think I got back later than you guys because I had to catch that bloody bus to get out of there. But we spent down near 12 hours there, I reckon, at least 10 or 11 hours there.
Yeah, I think the earlier group would have been about 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there for longer.
Yeah. So. But and we weren't dilly-dallying.
No.
Like, we weren't mucking about. We were on a mission to see as much of it as we could. And I reckon you could spend a week there. You could spend 2 weeks there and still not see everything. Yeah. Walking into that, out of that ravine into that treasury was absolutely mind-boggling. But then when we took off from that, and it just opened up in a way that I certainly was not expecting, and you weren't either, and from everybody else in the group that I spoke to, none of us were. Mm-hmm. And then everywhere, like, we walked down the thing, there was the other reliefs, the massive buildings, and then there was the amphitheatre. Yep. We went up on the hill on this side and saw some of the tombs, and then we kept going, saw some of the buildings on the left, and then we stopped for lunch, and then we took the hike up to the monastery. Mm-hmm. That as well was, I mean, I felt it was almost like male and female. Like, the treasury was the finesse in it, the fine detail, the structure of it. It was, taller but thinner, and then as more of a feminine thing, I suppose. Not saying that it was, but just I felt. And that treasury, while not as tall, was wider, but just the way it was carved was very dominating. Like, standing in front of the monastery. Standing in front of the treasury was beautiful. Standing in front of the monastery was like, that was a thing. Like, that was a solid, not going anywhere. I've been here for a while, and I'm going to be here for a while yet, sort of thing.
These monks will have a place to go.
Yeah. Doesn't matter if they were here 1,000 years ago or 1,000 years from now. Like, I'll still be here. I'll still be waiting.
Still standing.
And the views from up there were amazing. And then even when we come back down from that, like, did you make when you guys left before me, did you guys make the trek up to the other tombs? Up on that other side?
No, we didn't.
Oh, okay. So I went up there and saw more of that. And they were even, like, they were big as well and big again. And at one point went up, just because I was so close to it, there was a ridge not far away. And I went up and climbed to the top of the ridge. And by crikey, a kilometre away, there was you could see it. There was more Petra.
Yeah.
There was more mountains carved into buildings and all the rest of it, and you could see others. That's what I mean. Like, it was huge.
Yeah.
And nobody had ever conveyed to me that place was as expansive as it was. Not even remotely bloody close. Like exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Thought it was the Treasury.
But that being said, it's also probably because a lot of people haven't come to Jordan. They don't know as well. So
true, but
yeah.
I mean, I don't know, National Geographic, like anything you've ever seen about Petra, it's always the Treasury. It's never, it doesn't show all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And now after being there, I'm like, why aren't you showing the other stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, for people to come to Jordan, because I mean, mild side quest, you know, we've spoken to people in Jordan, we've now spoken to people in Egypt. For those of you listening, guys, like with all the stuff happening at the moment that everyone's scared of in the Middle East, and I say that with my fingers making inverted commas, it's miles away. Like if you are at all considering about coming to Jordan or coming to Egypt, there's no trouble here. Like it is safe, it's good, there's no bad mojo going on. Yeah. And back to the original point of, I mean, yeah, everything you see about Petra is about the Treasury, but I think if there was more out there to show people just how much more they're missing, like you're not just going there to see one thing. You're not just going to Petra to see the Treasury. You can go to Petra and spend a couple of days doing different treks and different hikes and different walks and seeing so much more.
For sure.
I mean, even the amphitheatre. Moitez was saying that's the biggest amphitheatre ever constructed, carved into like solid out of the rock. It wasn't put together with blocks and stones from other places. It was carved solid into that mountain, and it's the biggest one in the world. But there's so much more there that nobody knows about. We now do. And we can tell everybody. But yeah, there's. But I think that's been true of a lot of places we've been. You don't get the, I don't know, grand scheme of things. I mean, we're not up to this part of the tour, so we will come back to it, but even when we've gotten to Egypt and saw the Great Pyramids, that was quite an expansive and massive thing, but that you're kind of expecting, because you know about the Great Pyramids, you know about the Sphinx, you know about this, but Petra was...
It's way more low-key.
Yeah, that was a hidden gem. That was a proper hardcore hidden gem. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think the following day when we're leaving Petra and we're heading towards Wadi Rum.
Yep.
There's a point when our bus stops and we get to see the whole panorama of Petra, and that's, at least for me, when it sunk in, the magnitude, the scale of the site was just way more than any of us. And
you couldn't even see it all because some of it was so far off into the hazy distance that it wasn't even there. But no, that was just after we left the township, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, we drove up the hill and Moitez stopped the bus on the side and we all got out and had practically an eagle-eye view of the ravine, of where the Treasury was, of where this was, of where that was, and he could point it all out. And
our route was...
Yeah. And you could see it, but it like you said, it put into perspective how far we walked, how far we went, and how far it went. It just, I don't know how much time we got on this podcast, man, but honestly, I would just about spend the entire time talking about that.
But man, this 1-2 convo of Petra followed by where we went to next, Wadi Rum.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what a place, if you want to kind of give a overview of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so when we went out to Wadi Rum, that was staying the night. So we had a pretty big day of driving to get to the point, the entrance, I suppose, of Wadi Rum, really. And that's when we got into... What did he say we were doing? He said, he was talking about we're getting in the buggies or something. We're getting in the buggies to go out to the place. It ended up being a bunch of Toyotas. A Land Cruiser, a Prado, and a Hilux. It was pretty funny. And then we spent the next 4 hours. And honestly, that, to me, was like Monument Valley. Did you go to Monument Valley when you were in the States?
No.
Honestly, to me, very similar. Well, I mean, for those listening, if you've been to Monument Valley in the States, and I'm not saying if you've been to Monument Valley you don't need to go to Wadi Rum, because that's honestly not what I'm saying at all, but just in terms of having an idea of what to expect, of what you might see. So we jumped in the Toyotas and all piled in with our bags and took off and spent the next 4 hours driving through the desert, surrounded on all sides by these just monoliths of rock and everything else. Stopped off with a couple of the locals out there in their black goat hair tents.
Yep.
And drank tea and learned a bit about the old, what was it, camel train trails, wasn't it, from way back in the ancient days and all the rest of it, and saw some of that, and saw a couple of small arches in the stone, in the rock, and then we ended up at the camp. So we for those listening too, if you've seen The Martian, the movie The Martian with Matt Damon, the scenes with him shot on Mars, where he built his dome and grew his potatoes and all the rest of it, that was done where we were out at Wadi Rum. So that could kind of give you an idea of what it's like too.
And the domes. And
the domes, yeah. There was a couple of, not the camp we stayed at. I was quite happy to have more of an authentic camp.
Yep.
But there were a couple of camps out there that have been made, for tourists and stuff, with the domes, to give people a feel for anyone going out there for the movie and all the rest of it. But then staying in that camp, and I mean that was spectacular, because there did end up being another small group that stopped there.
Yep.
But we got there first, so we got our rooms, we got to chill out, we got to relax. And then, as you've already said, is my habit of taking off on my own. I took off and went and climbed up halfway up a mountain. And
so how?
That came later.
Oh, okay.
I climbed up there way earlier, man. I was up there reading. I just wanted some space, and I wanted a vantage point to look out over the desert and stuff. And then sunset was coming, and it was funny because just as I was like, I better start making a move, I saw you mob walking over from the camp down below, little ants walking across the sand. I was like, all right, it's definitely time to go. And then, when you guys walked over and went to your thing, I climbed the rest of the way up the mountain, up high. Yeah. And we watched the sunset over Wadi Rum, over the desert sands and over the mountains, and that was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was really stunning. You got a pretty good bloody photo of yourself there.
Yeah, for the listeners who haven't seen the picture, but I don't know at what point it was constructed, but I think there were 2 or 3 of them, which were these basically recliners that were made out of stone. And it was actually pretty comfortable.
It's kind of like they kind of look like a beach chair.
Yeah,
Those beach chairs that angle down in the middle of the bottom part.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was one of the first people up there.
Oh, he laid claim, man. Yeah. He laid claim to this chair.
Immediately eyed it. I was like, yeah, that's me for the next hour. I'm sorted.
We just needed to get a Lionel sticker and put it there and be like, this is my spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
And managed to get a pretty good time lapse of the sunset as well. After.
Oh, you did get one?
Yeah, eventually getting a good resting spot for the phone.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. That's
nice.
Yeah, one of my favorite sunsets, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, so special.
And it was quiet, and it was calm, because we were the only ones there. Like, those other people, I think, did they rock up before you guys left? No, they were there when we got back.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. There was no one else around. It was just our group.
It's just us.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was stunning. And then, I thoroughly enjoyed being up where I was. And seeing it from that vantage point, but by crikey, it was a race against the light when I was coming down. As soon as that sun went down, man, as soon as it dropped below the horizon, straight away, part of me was like, I could sit here, and the other part of me was like, nah, man, get up and move, because when it gets dark, you're buggered.
No street
Let's
lights.
Go. And I didn't have a torch with me, nothing. So it was a race against time to get back down. Nearly come unstuck once too.
Oof.
Yeah. Went to jump across a gap, and one of my feet slipped, so I was like, it was close.
Close call.
But close call doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Made it down. Got back there.
Yeah.
And then we chilled out, and we had a bloody Jordanian Wadi Rum hungy.
We did.
I had a ground oven for dinner, man.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a cook-up.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Yeah.
And that was a good feed, too.
It was good.
That was an awesome feed. I reckon that was one of the better feeds we've had, like, on this trip. And that contraption they made to put in it,
Yeah.
I asked them, I said, did you guys make one? I took a photo of it. I'm making one of them when I go home.
They sell them.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, like in New Zealand, you can get... It's literally like a hangi set.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, man. I've been living out bush and it's like with the blackfellas and whatnot, it's just like, I don't know, we've never had them, but I feel like I'm going to take that photo back to a couple of mob that I know back home out in communities and stuff, and they're going to be like, oi, where'd you get that? So,
Yeah, it was really cool. I think it was either Sparkles or your mum who mentioned, oh, this is just like a hangi from New Zealand.
Yeah.
And to the non-Kiwi listeners, it's basically using the earth as an oven. So you'd dig a big pit, and then you'd have basically hot coals at the bottom of the pit, and then put whatever food, it's all been wrapped up, on top of the coals, and then you'd cover the ground to seal it, and then basically just let it cook in the like natural radiant heat from the coals. And the Jordanians do basically
do it as well, man.
Yeah.
And it's for anyone that hasn't tried it, do you ever get the chance to have a hangi cook up or a ground oven cook up or any of the other names it goes by, man? It's worth doing, eh? And a lot of the old cultures do it, like the Binning mob back home in Australia, Kiwis, you know, the Maori mob, they do it. Islanders, like I've known some Islanders from Hawaii, but even Tongans and stuff, they do it too. And now we know that Jordan, like mob up here, do it as well. So it's a thing all around the world. And if you haven't had it, you're missing out. You need to fix that quick smart.
Yeah, get on that.
Yeah. So that was wicked, and that was a good friendly night. I think. I mean, I think by that time, even like what's that day? Third or fourth day, fourth day, day 4.
Yeah.
I think we'd started to get like that was good. I think for the group to have that time, not in a hotel. I mean, we still had our separate little dongas to sleep in, but there was like that communal area that was just nice and relaxed, eating all together and chilled out. I think that was a good, you know, without sounding too sappy, it was a good bonding time for everybody to kind of get together and get a feel for each other and talk shit and just hang out.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was nice.
I'd also like to give a shout out to all of the drivers and the staff while we're in Wadi Rum were just really great. I think the driver that we had on the way out of Wadi Rum had really good English and was kind of pointing out certain things about the landscape and the history, and it was really informative. So
yeah, righto.
Yeah, and he didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not part of the job description, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed every part of that experience.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, that's cool. I didn't have that with my driver, but I was in my own world, man. I was happy, it was good. But I think we've been really lucky with the people that we've specifically interacted pretty much the whole tour. Like you said, drivers, through all the places we've been, you know, we've had a lot of them on different buses and vans, and then the trip out there and all the rest of it. Like, we've had some pretty good people, eh? We've never had any bad ones or anything. We've had good experiences, good people. Yeah, it's been really nice. And our tour guides as well. Shout out to Moitez in Jordan. And Hadi here in Egypt, but we'll get to him shortly.
Yes.
And then
that, is that Aqaba? Or
I think so. What do we got after Wadi Rum? Was Nawiba.
Yeah, so that's the Aqaba.
Yeah, that was the Aqaba thing.
Yeah. Oh, this was your favorite day.
My favorite day? What was my favorite day?
The ferry.
Oh, the ferry. Oh my Gideons. Oh.
Okay, well, before the ferry, because we can talk about Aqaba. I just wanted to put that little thumbnail out there. Yeah. But, yeah, so we make our way to Aqaba, which is right by the... Am I getting this right? The Red Sea?
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's a port city overlooking the Red Sea, We get to the hotel and we have basically 2 rooms, one for the girls, one for the boys, to just plonk their stuff down and
have showers, clean ourselves up.
Yeah, have a little clean up, and then we go to the fort, or there was like a museum. We go to the little castle.
Yeah.
And then go to lunch, which I really enjoyed. The falafel there. You guys had the shawarma.
I had
believe.
kebabs.
Yeah.
That was delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool local spot, and I mean it was just us were the tourists there. Everyone else.
Yeah, everyone else was local
from there.
Yeah.
And that was also Andrea's birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Big 26.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah.
So after
Happy
lunch,
birthday, Andrea, for after bar turning 26. Yeah.
Yeah, after lunch we then go to a place which Martez was saying sold kunefe, which is this Middle Eastern dessert that's quite famous in the region. And he wasn't lying. So he did take us to a dessert shop, but it was to get Andrea
A birthday cake.
So he's saying happy birthday. And it's also really funny because this dessert shop was right next to a KFC. And a lot of people are thinking, is this guy taking us to KFC?
And that was a big KFC
Yeah.
too, man. Like, that thing was massive.
It was. But yeah, so we have this...
That was cute.
Yeah.
That was nice doing that.
A little chocolate hazelnutty...
Creamy
Creamy
cake. That was
cake.
pretty good.
Yeah.
That was a good dessert place.
Did you take a look inside?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was ritzy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I opened the door and I was like, ooh.
That's
black
diabetes
gold.
central.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Holy, that stuff looked so rich. There was, I think it was like a caramel, toffee, and Biscoff cheesecake.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So I didn't look closely because I knew that it would be bad if I looked closely at
Yeah.
anything. So I walked in the door, looked around, was like, oh damn, and walked back out again. 'Cause there was no way I was going to tempt myself by looking at anything closer. And you describing that is exactly why I did not go and look at anything closer.
Man, it was just, shelves and shelves of that kind of stuff. Just the most decadent
Oh,
desserts imaginable.
well, even that cake, that was rich.
It was.
We all only had small pieces, and none of us went for a second. And I mean, you got a group of 10 people, 11 including Martez,
Yeah.
and nobody goes back for a second piece of cake because nobody needed a second piece of cake.
We're all good. Yeah.
And then Andrea did a really nice thing. She gave the rest of it to the mum with the 2 kids with her.
Yeah.
Baby in one arm and this little kid hanging off her dress. So she gave the rest of the cake for them, for their family. So that was really nice of her.
Yep. And then we kind of just chilled back at the hotel for a while.
Yeah, back to the rooms where
Yeah.
the boys were responsible and calm and chilled out. We had me and Josh sleeping on the floor, you sleeping on one bed, and
Bryce
Bryce
on the
sleeping
other.
on the other bed. I don't know if any of us slept, but we're all just laying down, chilling out.
Yeah. I think
Unbeknownst to us, the
Josh
Sheilas...
slept.
Josh slept.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to us, all the Sheilas next door in the other room are all drinking and having a good time and a chat. I think I went outside for a smoke at some point, and they're all sitting out. I walked out the door and had 6 women just stop talking and look at me like, "Oh, okay." I'm preaching on secret women's business here. I need to have this and make myself scarce.
Interrupting the council.
Yeah, mate. Hey, fair income. And then was the ferry.
Yeah. Oh, well, just before that, did you end up getting dinner?
Nah. No, I didn't.
You didn't have anything?
No.
Because I went by myself, because I knew this ferry could just take an eternity.
Yeah.
So I went to a local charcoal chicken place. That was
Okay.
just a block and a half away. So good. So good. And I was one of 2 customers in there, because I think it was right during prayer time. So it was a lull point
Yeah.
during the restaurant hours. And yeah, so the guy's like, what do you want? I say, what do you recommend? And then he basically pointed at this most popular item, which was a half chocolate chicken, chips, pita bread, some dips, bunch of salads, and yeah, I think it was one of my favorite.
And it
meals
didn't
of the
cost
trip.
bugger all, I'm gonna guess.
It was AUD, probably like $10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
And I was stuffed. I did not need any snacks on the ferry at all.
Nah.
I was good. Yeah. Just wanted to
Put that out there. Yeah. No,
if anyone wants the address, I'll put the link in the
Yeah,
description.
if you want some
below.
charcoal chicken, chips, pita bread, and salad,
And
man,
Aqaba.
yeah, he's got the place in
Yeah,
Aqaba.
yeah.
And if you're going on that ferry from Jordan to
Don't.
Egypt, you don't. Yeah, first of all, just don't. But if you do, get some charcoal food in you first, so you're
Just
not
take
as
a
much of an
rowboat.
angry bastard as I was. Far out. I was wrathful with that, man. That did my head in.
No, but yeah, because you talk about your job and.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's a reason for.
There is a reason for. So for the last most of 8 years, I did have a small gap of about 7 months when I went back to driving trucks. But I've been a logistics manager in marine logistics. So started out with it on Groot Island off the Northern Territory coast, off the east coast in the Gulf of Carpentaria, and I was working I did it for 2 companies out there and worked for the mine. So what that entailed was everything the mine brought in, from equipment to gear to just literally everything. And then everything the mine sent away except for its products. So they mined manganese, Gemco mined manganese on Groot Island. So that goes on the big ships to go to the different countries. But everything else they needed out and in, we did. The food for the communities, the fuel, all of that stuff came through us. So managing trucks, managing machines, managing boats, managing logistics of getting stuff to move around. And then after I left Groot, moved to Cairns, did truck driving for a bit because I had enough of the madness. Lasted 7 months and I was that bored out of my brain driving trucks in circles and stuff that when another company came looking for me, because they knew what I'd done at the other place, so I ended up working for them and went up to Horn Island, where I was before I came away. Yeah. And I was the base for northern Queensland and all the Torres Strait Islands and out of Cairns. So the big boats would come up to me out of Cairns and come to me, and I had 23 different islands and locations that I received, sorted and distributed to and from. So managing people, managing logistics of people, places, again, boats, all the rest of it is something that I've done and been quite good at and successful with for the last few years. So that entire experience with what we went through on dealing with that ferry was just, it hurt my soul. Yeah. It just, the wait when we got there, I mean, getting through customs on the Jordanian side and the amount of checks and everything else that we had going on. Yeah. And then waited there for, 4.5, 5 hours? I think it was like 5 hours we waited there for. So then we got on the boat.
It was longer than that, I think.
We got there at like 7:30.
Yeah.
And we got on the boat at like 12:30.
But then we only left at 3 something.
Yeah, we didn't leave until about 3. So then we waited on the boat for another 2.5, 3 hours. Yeah. So all up, it was what's that? An 8 or 9 hour wait.
Yep.
Before the ferry even leaves freaking Jordan.
Yep. And
then take the trip to Egypt, and that only took I think we got there at 5:30 or something, didn't we? It hadn't dawned yet.
Just over 2 hours.
Yeah. So we got there at like 5:30 or something, and then went through hell of waiting on the Egyptian side and going through customs on that side and everything too. So far out, man. If you come to Egypt, fly, damn it, fly. Don't take the ferry.
Yeah, please don't.
Don't do it to yourself. Your sanity is worth more to you than that. Oh my Gideons. Oh, just because that hurt me, man. Like with what I've been doing, like even when we were sitting on that boat, because while we were waiting in the ferry terminal, if you can even call it that, we had no idea what was going on because all the windows are blacked out. But then when we were sitting on the ferry, I was sitting next to the window and I was watching because everyone else was. I think you started in that, but you were awake for ages. I could see you listening to music and stuff, and I could see Andrew was awake and I was awake. Everyone else just passed out because we were finally on the boat. But I was sitting next to the window. I was watching how that was managed, the operation of getting all those trucks. Like, there was just... I almost just wanted to get out of my chair, go and find someone that spoke English and be like, right, give me the friggin' walkie-talkie, like, give me the radio, let me just make this happen. I want to leave, man. I don't want to be here anymore.
Pop on a high vis.
Yeah! Far out. I think I was wearing the same tie-dyed singlet I'm wearing now, so honestly, that's high vis enough. You would have seen me coming from a mile away. Far out. No, that was... I mean, look, it's an experience we've had. It's an experience I never, ever want to have again, but it's an experience we've had. It's an experience we've had. And then we hit the Egyptian shore.
Yep, so Nueva.
Yeah.
And we get greeted by Hadi.
Hadi, yeah. Our current guide, our current legend in charge of our trip.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The man, the myth, the legend, hell yeah.
And we take these minivans to a beach resort.
Beach, yeah.
For a few hours.
That was big too, man. That was a doozy of a beach resort.
It was.
Yeah.
So we go get breakfast. Some of us, I know, went to the beach itself.
Yeah, to have a swim.
I was gone.
Oh man, I went back to room and even I had a nap. Like, I think I only got maybe an hour and a half, but because I didn't really get anything on the boat. Yeah, we were all cool. That was a long, like, the day before was huge.
Yeah.
And that night, everything we went through with that ferry, that was huge. And then that next day was huge. Like, we were all absolutely shattered.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, I napped as well.
Yeah.
But then we only had, we got there at about, I don't know, 7 o'clock or something. Mm-hmm. And we had until 11, I think. Yeah. So we had 4 hours to eat and sleep or swim, whatever we chose to do.
Yeah.
And then it was Dahab.
Yeah. So we eventually reach Dahab, which is another
coastal
town. Still
on the Red Sea.
Mm.
Yeah, further south of, what was the first word we pull into? You remembered the name?
Oh, Nueva.
Nueva, that's it. Yeah, south of Nueva, still on the Red Sea, on the west coast of the Red Sea, on the Egyptian side.
Mm. Oh, and side quest. So, in my second Intrepid tour this year, which was in Turkey, one of my group members was an Egyptian, Walid or Will, and I was talking to him about, I really want to come to Egypt, and I was thinking of, doing a tour here. Where should I go? And of course there's the pyramids and the usual.
Yeah.
But he said, you need to go to Dahab.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And he said, this was the first time I'd learned about diving in Egypt.
Yeah.
Because all I thought prior to learning about it was desert.
Yeah.
You don't think about water.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that, I looked into it some more. I thought, wow, this looks incredible. And I actually booked this specific tour
because of the... Yeah, right.
Because of the interaction. So shout out Will, and that was just kind of the
a
first
very
domino.
good decision.
Yeah. Basically. Because, I mean, Dahab, it's phenomenal.
Honestly, yeah. For those listening, he led Lionel in the right direction. When you come to Egypt, like I said, it's on the east coast of Egypt, on the west coast of the Red Sea. Dahab is worth going to. It's a very touristy place. It's an exceptionally touristy place. I mean, even talking to Hadi, our guide, and he was saying that barely any of the people you see here are people from here. It's even the Egyptians you see are tourists as well. Yeah. But I felt that it still had kind of a small towny feel to it. Like, it didn't have some sort of posh city thing. It wasn't aggressive. Mm-hmm. People were really nice. And the place we stayed at, I mean, the place we slept at for a couple of hours, that massive beach resort joint, yeah, okay, but I reckon the place we stayed at Dahab was just way nicer.
Yep.
smaller, still on the beach, but just the atmosphere, the energy there was, I found way more profound, like just so much more relaxing and more what I'd be chasing anyway. Right. So, yeah, for sure.
And we had the pool at the hotel as well.
2 pools.
But we only used one.
We only used one. We used the better one. We used the bigger, better one that was overlooking the water. Yeah. And was literally in the middle of all of our rooms.
Right in the center.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and we were on the... And that was kind of like the main street, I think. Oh, well, there was a couple other main, but that was the main...
To us, that was...
that was our main drag, and it had restaurants and cafes and coffee shops and everything you needed was there.
Yep. Pharmacy.
Yeah, pharmacy. I mean, even for those of you travelling and for anyone listening, like... Egypt Vodafone's a good tele company to come with if you're not doing the eSIM and you want to do a hard SIM, which is the way that I went with it. There's a Vodafone store there, and you go in and get a SIM card for, well, I think it cost me like 960 Egyptian pounds, so it was just under $30, and I got a SIM card for a month with, I think, 65 gig or something for just under $30. So, you beauty. We're set. I've been able to watch anime the entire time, man. It's been awesome.
No withdrawal for me?
No withdrawal for me. Hell no. But yeah, Dahab is really nice.
Yeah.
The rooms were good. We both got lucky in getting the on the ground floor, so you literally opened the back little door and you had your own little private area and then a little wall that you could step over, and then you're in the rest of the hotel, rest of the area. There was that charcoal place just up the road. That did a good feed.
El Masri.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of places called El Masri. You'll notice
it's a
that
chain. In
Egypt that there's just many repeated names for restaurants and other establishments.
Absolutely.
But that one, I mean, really, it was the most popular place on the street by far.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
I mean, the standard is just up there.
It was up there, and it was cheap.
Yeah.
Wasn't expensive. The food was good. You didn't walk away hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the second night I went to the Chinese place. I came to Egypt and went to Dahab. I went to get some Chinese food.
Yeah, I was with you for that. The Golden Dragon or something.
That's it.
The most stereotypical Chinese restaurant name.
And I think, like, without sounding too obnoxious, I did have a private laugh when we went there. Yeah, because we were sitting at the same table when we went there for lunch.
Yeah.
And it was like, went to Egypt, Dahab, Golden Dragon Chinese restaurant, and had a Chinese-looking Kiwi with us. So I was like, this just doesn't... This is like the start of a bad joke or something, you know? Like it was, and a bunch of Aussies. And I mean, that was the thing too. Yeah. We've had this conversation briefly before, brief side quest, about the people who've had on the tour. And like I said to you, this is the first tour that I've done where there was this many Aussies, like this many of us. Yeah. Aussie, Kiwi, like us from back home. Yeah. We had a couple of Americans, or we do now. We started out with only one, but now we've got a couple. Yeah. But we've still got, this is the one that I haven't been on one that was so predominantly Australian and New Zealand, like just us, Southern Hemisphere. All the others I've done have been mostly from other places. Yeah.
So also, I don't take offense if you call me Australian. I can technically get citizenship.
Yeah, you're doing both. I was like,
So, that's fine too.
Paying homage to where you come
from.
Yeah,
no.
I love the Kiwi. I love New Zealand, bro. I love it. I've got plenty of Kiwi mates back home. Yeah. And we always get fucking mistaken for each other anyway, so... That's true. I don't know how many times, particularly in the UK, that was weird. Like, people would say to me, "Oh, you from New Zealand?" No, man, we're Australian. "Oh, I'm sorry. Why are you sorry?" Like, "Oh, you guys don't like it." That's news to me. Okay. I mean, I think I've met a couple of Kiwis that don't like being called Australian, but that's been only a couple. Like, for the most part, we don't care. Yeah. But in the UK, if you call a Scots bloke, English or Irish or the other way, that doesn't go down well. So they had this weird idea about us being like that, but I've never experienced it. That was strange. But yeah, Chinese food in Egypt, it wasn't bad either. Okay. Like, as far as things go, it definitely could have been worse.
I'll just say, I've never eaten Chinese food made by an Egyptian person.
yeah. Well,
So,
there's that.
Given
There's
that
the
context,
novelty of it. Yeah.
it was fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
Well, yeah, let's get to the blue hole, man.
Yeah. All right, you kick that off, bro.
Alright, so a handful of us from the group end up going to this diving/snorkeling location not too far from where we were staying, called the Blue Hole.
No, I think it was only about, 40-minute drive, 45-minute drive?
About 45 minutes. And there have now been a bunch of different documentaries. I think Andrea said there's also
One
a
on
film.
Netflix or something, yeah.
Based on the Blue Hole. And there are also other locations in the world called the Blue Hole because it's such a generic
name, yeah.
But this one in Daha is just... Okay, I'm just going to describe when we first enter for our first snorkeling run.
Yeah.
And so we get all our gear, so we have fins, a snorkel, and we just get plonked in the water. We have the route all planned out, so we walk a little bit to this point, and then...
Yeah, we had it was like a 250-meter walk.
Yeah.
Up, down the coast a little bit, yeah.
And then, we disembark from that point.
Yeah.
And when we reach the hole itself, which is basically just this... There's a ring of coral and just all these different fish that live within this ecosystem.
Yeah.
And the center is just this giant drop, just almost like a well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it is the most intense shade of blue that I've ever seen. And I swear I just had this chill run up my spine as soon as I saw it. It was... You're in awe, but it's like a sense of wonderment. But for me, it was also a sense of fear.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's just, you can't see the bottom.
Oh, hell no.
It's just endless blue.
And the viz was good too. We had good viz. We could see for a good bit, but yeah.
Exactly.
For those of you guys listening, the Blue Hole, so where we dropped in is a long ridge of coral that you follow, and then the Blue Hole. And the Blue Hole was I think it was 50 meters wide, or 50 meters lengthways, and then probably 40 meters wide, but 110 meters deep.
Yeah.
And I absolutely agree with you, man. Blue Hole. That was very basically, but very aptly named.
Yeah.
I mean, I dive. I've done plenty of diving and snorkeling around Australia, particularly up north. Done some snorkeling and stuff, even in New Zealand when I went over there. But yeah, that was blue, and it was a hole. It was really amazing and impressive. There was good colour in the coral too. Sorry, continue. I just went off, but yeah, just to give you guys an idea, that's the size you're looking at. And while you in your head might think to yourself, "Oh, that doesn't seem that big," wait until you're floating over the top of it, and then tell us that.
And so we end up going around the Blue Hole ring, and that was the end of the first run, and we actually had a second run lined up.
Yeah.
After a bit of a rest, and I had to say though, because the times that I've been snorkeling in New Zealand, a lot of the times we're in reef areas where the tide is protected by some sort of either coral or just some sort of rock structure.
Yeah.
And the Blue Hole was not that. So I just remember really feeling the tide, especially by the end of the first run. And it's kind of kicked in. It's not in every situation, but in certain scenarios I get motion sickness. And the tide was actually starting to do that for me. And
really?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know that.
Oh, no, it's fine. But I just remember feeling quite nauseous by the end of the first run, and having to have a lie down.
Yeah.
And I was contemplating not doing the second run, but I thought I can deal with it. Like, we'll be fine.
I can feel sick later. I'm here. I've got to do this.
Yeah, and if anything, I'll just feed the fish. So,
Just remember to take the snorkel out first, man.
Oh, no. Chimney. But, so the second run, I think, was a bit more protected just from maybe the route that we were taking, but I felt it a lot less.
Yeah, okay. I think the only thing with the second run is because when we came back, we had to go against the current. So that was a little bit more effort to swim against it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I did to kind of avoid the tide was I just kind of held my breath and just like swam with the fins underneath the surface of the water.
Yeah.
I think that helped quite a lot.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, even after the second run, I just had to lie down. I don't know if you saw that, but because you went in for a third.
I went in again. Yeah. But when we got back, I asked him. I was like, "So are we done?"
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, we're finished. I'm like, can I go back out?
Yeah.
I'm off.
Yeah, you're in your element. Man.
Yeah, man, I was loving it. Much the same as you. I mean, I didn't pick the trip for that, but the trip in Dahab and then when we went snorkeling on the boat, like, because I knew we were going snorkeling and I was having the chance to go in the Red Sea. That was a massive. I was mad keen for that. Like, I was so keen to get into the Red Sea, go snorkeling, do a bit of free diving, and just see it and all the rest of it. And it was really cool.
Oh yeah.
And even that, because like where we dropped in and we went with the current and followed the ridge, like the blue hole was a drop, but even that, like that was a drop off.
Yeah.
Like for everyone listening, when you're there, like there's a pretty much just like a ridge of coral that was probably a good 30 meters from the shore out, and then that had a bit of an incline going down, but it just went down, and it went down into blue, and then it was just, there was no bommies poking up or out or anywhere. It was just ocean from that point on, and it was deep. It was just, you felt like you were floating on the edge of the world. Yeah.
And this might be a slightly obscure reference, but there's this anime called Made in Abyss, which, for all of you hardcore anime fans, you've probably heard of it, but...
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet. I haven't read the manga yet.
To all you normies out there, it's basically, there's this, like, giant hole in the earth, and there are people that go down to explore it, and no one that's been to, like, the lower levels, the depths of the abyss, have surfaced again. And the anime itself does a really good job with kind of creating this atmosphere of mystique, but also almost like imminent peril if you're going to go down and explore it. And when I saw the blue hole for the first time, that was kind of the imagery that came to my mind, is you just cannot see the bottom. And like, if there was some sort of issue, I know we were snorkeling, we weren't even diving, but if something happened,
if that water was the opposite of the Dead Sea and it sunk you, you were screwed, man. You were going down and you were never coming up.
Yeah, that would have unalived me for sure. But,
and we got some good footage. I had my GoPro with me, so I got some photos and some videos and stuff. So there's some for any of you hardcore listeners out there that want to see Lionel with his shirt off and get a good perv at him. And he's got a couple of photos of himself snorkeling in the blue hole.
Yeah, like a mermaid.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. No, that was an extraordinary day. That was amazing, and there was life. I mean, there was no big fish, and you're not spearing there or anything, but there was life there. The coral had good colour.
Yeah.
And I was so glad that we went as early as we did, because by the time we were kind of finishing and ready to leave, that was when
so busy.
Oh, people just come out of the woodwork, eh?
Yeah.
So I was really glad we got there as early as we could.
Even leaving was a mission, because of all the people. There's only one lane basically.
Yeah, a single car with
Yeah.
track in and out.
For entry and exit to the place where all of these shops were, where you can get your gear rentals. And it took at least 30 minutes, maybe even 40, for our transport to pick us up.
Yeah.
Because he
I
was
think
just
it was
stuck.
longer. I reckon it was close to an hour.
Yeah, it might have
It
been.
was close to an hour, because he
Yeah.
said give it half an hour, but it was double that for sure, yeah.
So, yeah, definitely go early. That'd be
Yeah.
the best way to go.
If you come to Egypt, go to Dahab, go to the Blue Hole.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Put that on your list, everybody. And then what did we do after that? That was the day...
Well, we chilled back at the hotel after that.
Yeah, and that was the night we all got on the... No, the night before was the night we all got on the drink, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And then we were all knackered after that.
Oh,
We all-
dude, we talk about Josh.
Oh. Yeah, crikey, righto.
So, Josh, if you're listening to this, hi.
You got drunk as a skunk, my friend.
So Josh, the night before going to the Blue Hole, got absolutely
Legless.
decimated. On the ride, I have such a good picture of him on the ride to the Blue Hole. Just, he was in the back row, lying on the floor. was not having a good time, and clearly had stomach issues.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
he was rough.
Yeah.
He was rough.
So, I mean, kudos to him for even going in the first place. I know
Yeah.
a lot of people would have just called it quits.
And then even when we got there, like after when everyone had a rest after that first run, he was laying down, man. Like
Yeah.
he was, got some water into him, had a Coke, got some sugar into him to just try and level himself out a bit, bring himself back to life. Yeah, that was. I felt for him.
Definitely.
I did. At the same time, I was like, sucker, that's not me.
And you know he would have done the exact same if the
Oh yeah,
roles were
absolutely,
reversed,
yeah,
so-
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the roles are reversed,
It's only fair.
the feelings would have been the same.
But also the night before when we were drinking, we were doing this whole like adding to the queue on Spotify.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Fort Minor.
Remember the name Fort Minor.
Yeah.
And he had no idea. And you were the first I think maybe the second person
Yeah.
that had heard of it when I brought it up. But you were the first person other than me I've ever met that when we played that song, man, you and I, we knew all the words. We were jamming that thing.
Bar for bar.
And we were blowing his mind. He's like, how have I never heard this? What is going on
Because
here?
we're popping off.
Yeah.
He's just like, what is the song?
That was gold. That was a good night.
That was.
And that was a good day. Like that Dahab thing, that was wicked.
Yeah, Dahab was definitely a highlight.
And that was a shame because that was where Andrea, Josh, and Jade left us.
Yeah.
And we had the new mob start
Yeah, because after
the
Dahab,
next day in Cairo.
yeah, we head to Cairo, the capital,
Yeah.
and get to the hotel, and
we flew into Cairo.
that's right.
No,
yeah,
we
I'm
flew in. That was the time we got on the plane. We did the plane. We flew into Cairo.
Yeah.
That was hectic, man. That was hectic. As we were coming down, and you just got, like, the desert ends, and then just this desert of buildings starts. Just this ocean of buildings. That was friggin' off chops. That reminded me. I mean, the only other place I've been to was Tokyo, where it was just a sea of buildings. Like, that was nuts.
Yeah.
And it was so vastly different to Tokyo itself in Japan. Yeah, that was hectic. But yeah, got into Cairo.
And we get into our transport, and to even get to the hotel was a mission of its own.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was this one road which is literally a minute drive away from our hotel, where it is the narrowest squeeze. And
we're in a coaster bus, so we're not even in a small little van. There's
Yeah.
enough of us that we're in a coaster bus. Yeah.
And dude, shout out to that driver.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah, man. Far out.
an inferior driver would totally have nicked that
Yeah.
bus.
And there was a couple of times that I was like, ooh, how you going to go?
Yeah.
And
Everyone was clenching.
Yeah, everyone, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we eventually managed to get to the hotel, drop off our stuff, and then you and I go to the nearby restaurant to have lunch or late lunch.
Late lunch, yeah.
And restaurant's also really good.
I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah, Antak restaurant.
Yeah.
The guy's cool. Has a cousin in every single country.
Yeah.
Conveniently.
Man, everybody has a cousin in every country. Like you get here, everyone you talk, oh, where are you from? Australia. And it's always Melbourne or Sydney.
Yeah.
Nah, man, neither. Well, for me, neither. Yeah. And then every now and again I've had someone that says Perth. No one ever says Darwin or anything else.
Yeah.
I think a couple might have said Brisbane. And then you say, oh, Australia. And they're like, oh, yeah. My cousin or my brother or my sister or my auntie or my uncle, one of their family members lives in whichever city that you're from. I've never, I in my experience have never not seen so many Egyptians back home, but apparently there's thousands of them.
Just this underground mobs. And on our way to the supermarket, there was
oh, crikey, righto. Yeah, so we get to the hotel, Lionel and I are hungry, we go and have a feed, and then we get told by the bloke there, and he was a lovely fellow, that fellow we were talking to, he was nice, he was friendly. Says, oh, there's a supermarket up there if you want, snacks and drinks and stuff. Oh, cool. So we go for a walk. And that fella that starts walking next to us and starts having a chat. And he's like, where you going? We're just going to the supermarket. Oh, yeah, it's on my way home. I'll show you where it is. Bloody hell, wasn't that a mistake? On the way there, oh, just stop in here, my friend. He just, he's got, what was it, a gallery?
A gallery.
A gallery.
Yeah.
A gallery. So we made the mistake of walking in there. Yeah. And both of us telling him, mate, we're not going to get, no, we just want to get, no. 5 minutes, come in. Yeah. He just opened yesterday. We were his first customers ever.
Yeah. And it's his sister's, was it wedding?
His sister's wedding, yeah. We had to buy some papyrus pictures and stuff because it was his sister's wedding and he needed money for his sister's wedding.
Yeah.
And we finally got out of there. On our way to the supermarket, there was another bloke that had a gallery that also happened to open up the day before.
Yeah. Funny that.
Yeah, funny that. He followed us into the supermarket and then was waiting for us out the front when we got out of there. Far out. That was an adventure unto itself, wasn't it?
Yeah. On the bright side, that supermarket's really good.
Yeah.
Spinneys in Cairo.
Yeah.
Or I think it's in other places.
It's been a couple other places too, yeah.
But yeah, that's the go-to.
Yeah.
They have a really great selection, and it's when you compare it to, because a lot of these smaller towns even in Cairo, you have these. They call them supermarkets, but they're just like mini marts.
Yeah, and even that's being generous.
Yeah.
Corner shops.
Yeah, corner shops. Everything in there the price is jacked up. And of course, when you compare it to, say, Australia or the US or the UK,
still bugger all.
It's really cheap. But then you actually go to a legitimate supermarket and it is nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. I bought like so much stuff and it was $2.50.
Yeah.
You'd add a zero to the end of that back home.
Back home, yeah.
Man, so Spinneys was great.
Yeah. No, that was good. And then we had that night was when we got back to the hotel. That was our next orientation, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. With the new gang, the one we're with now.
Yeah. So we said goodbye to Andrea, Josh, and Jade. So
and we said g'day to Tim, Brent, Eric, Brooke. Who's Eric's mate? Sean.
Day 22, by the way.
Yeah, come on, man. I'm shocking with names at the best of times. G'day, mate. How you going? Mate's my favourite word. That accounts for everybody.
And then Adrian and Jackie.
Yeah.
So we lose 3 people, but we gained 7. So then our group of 10 turned into a group of 14.
And we got 3 Aussies came on,
2 Aussies,
2 Poms, 2 English, and 2 Yanks, 2 Americans. And then so what have we got now? We've got, what, 3 Americans, we got the 2 English, and the rest of us are Aussie and Kiwi, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, so 9 out of the 14 are...
Us. Yeah.
Yeah, that ratio is kind of crazy.
It is, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Blew my mind. So many places in the world, and we're everywhere. But then, I mean, everyone keeps telling me that Australians and whatnot are everywhere. But this is really the first time I've experienced it on such a phenomenal level.
Also, Intrepid is from Melbourne.
Yeah. Intrepid started out Australia, yeah. And then, was it the next day we went to... Oh, that night. That night we went to the Sound and Light show.
That's right.
At the Pyramids, after the orientation.
Yeah.
We had, what, you, me, Andrea, Mum, Sparkles, Bryce.
Yeah.
All went to the Sound and Light show at the Pyramids Giza and Sphinx.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool too for anyone listening that's interested. I mean, it is a few bob. Like that was, what was that, 50 US or something like that?
Something like that, 55?
Yeah, 55 US. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think I was expecting a little bit more.
Yep.
Particularly in the light department.
Yeah.
But you did get to hear, like they had speakers going on and recordings, and gave you a bit of information, a bit of history and story. But it was still really cool to see, I think, and it was a wicked contrast because going there and seeing them at night and seeing the lights and stuff, and then we went to the pyramids the next day and saw it in the day, and having I think that contrast was really good. I'm glad I did it for that reason, if nothing else.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I think the show itself is very outdated.
Yeah.
And could definitely use with a revamp of some sort.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the fact that you have the pyramids illuminated at night, and then the next day we're out there seeing it again, but just the complete
different
opposite.
setting, a whole different feel to it, and getting amongst it. I mean, seeing the show, we were still bloody close, but then the next day we were there. We were walking amongst them.
Touching distance.
Yeah. Well, I went inside the Great
cool.
Pyramid of Giza. Yeah, I went up to the what do they call it? The King's Burial Chamber or something. Though they don't think it was an actual burial chamber. But yeah, so I went inside there. We went to the other pyramids, and then we went to the Sphinx.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about that? What was your take on the whole Great Pyramids, the whole Giza experience?
So I think saying a dream come true would be an overstatement.
Okay.
Because I remember learning, I think almost every kid learns about ancient Egypt in school growing up, and I was always fascinated with ancient Egypt as a subject, and mummies and the pyramids and everything, but I think it was not what I expected.
Okay.
Yeah. I, of course, enjoyed the experience, but again, this might just come down to the fact that because this trip is so long and you've just experienced
so much,
that you're getting diminishing returns in terms of just that wow factor of things. So I think in terms of expectation versus reality, I had in my head put quite a big emphasis on the pyramids are going to be insane.
Yeah.
And then coming here, it was really great, but I just don't think it did meet that standard.
Do you think part of that was to do with just the sheer number of people there? And I mean, because what did we have after the pyramids? We went and did something else afterwards.
Afterwards, we go to the museum.
That's right, we went to the museum. So there was even that, I don't know, I think part of it, I'm asking, I suppose, was part of it the sheer number of people, and then there was a bit of a rush factor. I don't think we had really time to, you didn't really have time to walk around the pyramids and just be there and bask in and kind of have that appreciation for it. It was kind of Go and do this, go and see this, go and do this, go and see this, go and do this, go and see this. All right, we've got to go because we've got to get the next thing.
Yeah.
But that's part of the thing you brought up at the start of this whole chat about how, the tours are really good because of how much you see, but then the tours are also quite jam-packed to see as much as you can, so then it takes away a bit of the time that you could have, if you're there on your own or something like that.
Yeah.
Did that play a part of it for you, do you think?
I think the people thing wasn't such an issue for me, also because in my head and talking to Hadi, he put emphasis that because of the conflict that's happening in the Middle East right now, Egypt and a lot of these Middle Eastern countries are really feeling the hit tourism-wise.
Yeah.
And if you compare the state of tourism where we are now in 2024 compared to, I believe Hadi said that it peaked at least when he was working in the industry in 2018.
Yeah, before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an complete just opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like, you probably would be 3 times further from the pyramids just because of how many people are there if you were there 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Then now, post-COVID and currently like mid-war.
Yeah.
The amount of tourists.
Which is crazy to think about because there was already a good number of people there.
Yeah.
So for him to say that it's just multiplied, like it was, in 2017, 2018, it was multiplied. Yeah, that's just, I'm so glad I didn't come and see it in 2017, 2018, man.
Yeah.
Far out.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, well, that's fair. I mean, I think I get what you mean because I loved it. I've loved coming to Egypt in general, and I mean, Jordan was amazing. The highlight for Jordan for me was Petra. But like I said earlier, I've had such a fascination with Greek, Egyptian, and Norse mythology. So those 3 places have always had a massive pull for me, I suppose.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I also, I think, had a bit of the same, thing that you're talking about with, I don't want to say underwhelmed. Whelmed. I was whelmed. I was whelmed, if that makes sense. Like I was.
I've never heard someone say
yeah,
that.
I didn't know. I didn't have anything else to go. I wasn't underwhelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed. I was whelmed.
Thoroughly whelmed.
I was whelmed.
Yeah.
It didn't. Yeah. I mean, seeing the pyramids in Central America were awesome, and being able to, some of them, you could climb and you could get on top of them, and you could get in some of them. But there are other things too, like the national parks in the States, even just being in and amongst it all. And Iceland for me, I mean, when I went down into that volcano, and I also took the option to go in the Silfra Fissure. So the Silfra Fissure is a fissure forming straight down the guts pretty much of Iceland.
Yeah.
And it's widening every year. I reckon it widens 2 to 3 centimetres every year. So Iceland's slowly but surely pulling apart. And I went snorkeling in the Silfra Fissure. So I went snorkeling between 2 tectonic plates in 1 to 2 degree water. And then Petra. So yeah, like you said, having so many just phenomenal and mind-blowing experiences. It hurts me to say it almost, but yeah, with Giza, with the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx and everything, it was still phenomenal, and wouldn't trade it in for anything going there. But I think it had less of a wow factor that it would have had if, say, I went there first or earlier in the trip or by itself or something. That probably would have just gone, holy shit! But after doing so much for the last 4 months, I get what you mean about that. I was whelmed. I was in that comfy whelmed spot.
I'll say I was the same.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't underwhelmed. It was still, of course, how do you say? It was 1.8 million blocks of stone that they had transported from Aswan.
From down near Aswan, yeah.
And then Yeah, just those stonemasons, man.
Oh.
Back then, what?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So just like the feet.
Come on, mate. We all know the aliens helped them.
Oh, we're getting into that now.
It depends on how long do you want this podcast to go, my bro.
So Nessie, I heard you. Yeah, just the sheer feat of achieving structures of that magnitude.
Yeah.
You know, you always have to keep that in mind. But you must have gone to Chichen Itza when you were in Mexico, right? I think I prefer Chichen Itza over the Great Pyramids. I think, well, one thing was the tour guide when I was there was really great and highlighted the significance for the people that built it. But also, it had all of these Easter eggs, like the bird sounds when you clap.
Claps and it reverberated, yeah.
I was really captured by Chichen Itza.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the pyramids, I didn't go in, so
Yeah.
I didn't have that experience, but seeing them, like, wow, that is really cool, but...
Going in the Great Pyramid was amazing,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad I paid the money to do it.
Okay.
But there were a buttload of other people that did it too.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's...
Very stuffy.
Yeah, because, I mean, when you first go in, you've got only... Like, you only walk for, I don't know, 20 metres, 25 metres in a space you can stand up.
Right.
And then you're going through a crawl space for a while. Like, you're going up at an angle in a space where you are bent over double. And I mean, like you mentioned at the start, I'm not a small bloke.
Yeah.
So I was proper bent double. And then you get into another space where you can stand upright for a bit further, and then you crouch down again. And then when you get into what they call the King's Tomb, there wasn't a massive room. And so the humidity from like people's breath and everything was just obscene. So, if you know, for listeners, if you do go there, I do recommend paying the extra money and going inside the Great Pyramid, because it is just I don't know, an experience to be in the middle of that thing, that behemoth. But again, there were a lot of people in there with me, so it wasn't like you got in there and you sat and you rested and it was quiet. It was people coming in, people going out, all the rest of it. So, and there's still a bloody bloke working there that's inside that room that's trying to get money out of everybody. I'll take a photo for you, I'll take a photo, give me a... It's like, dude, we're in this room in the middle of the pyramid. If there was ever a time for you to have a touch of respect for where we are, now's it. Shut up, bugger off, let people be, let them be here, let them, I don't know, bask in the amazing fact that they're in the Great Pyramid of Giza. But yeah, so that was a thing, but yeah, I don't know, I think we're both in agreement, we were whelmed.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that you guys shouldn't go, it's like we've said, we've been travelling, we've done a lot, seen a lot, so there is that sort of factor, but if you're, still worth going.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think my favourite point of when we were in Giza and exploring that region was the photo that we took.
Man!
Oh my gosh.
That turned out so well!
I don't know if I'll take a better... Oh, I didn't take it. Thanks to Andre for getting everything lined up. But that photo is the peak. I mean, really.
With the Sphinx in the background.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so...
For all you normies out there.
We have two weaves conducting a podcast right now, so you just have to expect that this is going to happen. But JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is this phenomenon that has taken over like Japanese pop culture, and even the West now. A lot of people have embraced this like super wacky anime. It's completely out there, but one of the staples of the anime that has made it kind of rise in fame are the poses that the characters make pretty much every episode. And they're so quirky and sometimes zesty. And there are a few poses or frames within the manga and now the anime where they've become iconic. And memes. And one of them is the, "Oh, so you're approaching me," panel. And I think it's part 3 of JoJo when they're in Egypt, and then there's like Dio and Joseph. I might be getting the characters wrong, I'm sorry. I'm not like the biggest JoJo fan, but I've watched it through, and yeah, I just knew, I think it was maybe a week before we were even in Giza, this image had like come into my mind. I remember like telling you guys
that
about
photo.
it.
Yeah. You teed me up before we got there.
Yeah, I have the vision.
There, I want to do this.
Yeah. Like the vision is there, man. Just let me cook. And we can get this done. And yeah, Andrea just did such a good job with getting everything we wanted in the background, and even
and we pulled off those poses like bosses,
yeah.
right? Like, we took that photo based on that thing, but now we can pretty much say that thing was drawn on the basis of our photo because we did it that well. Like, come on now, that was sick.
Yeah, it was so sick.
But yeah, she did such a great job. Even the angle of it and everything was mint. Yeah.
And man, every single one of my anime friends, when I showed it to them.
Oh, have you done it? I meant to ask you.
They completely frothed. It's like, you're the GOAT. Only downhill from here. That kind of stuff. Man, the payoff was huge. I loved it so much.
That was sick. Yeah, that was so good. And then after Giza, we went to the museum.
Yeah, to the museum.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of our group members chose to go off on their own and explore things. And you and I and a few of the others chose to have Hardy guide us.
Yeah.
So we got these little earpieces and...
did the proper touristy thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever looked or felt more like a tourist in that moment, walking around with those dicky things.
Yeah, so Hardy had a wireless mic set up where he could project his voice right into our ears. And yeah, we got a good run through of the museum, saw the Tutankhamun exhibition.
Yeah.
And a bunch of...
Yeah, King Tut's thing was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, the mask.
Yeah. Man, look, the mask was cool, but that sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
That was freaking insane.
Mm-hmm.
110 kilos of solid gold.
Yeah.
But the intricacy of the carvings and stuff in that was just, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Far out.
Also seeing the canopic jars where they stored the organs and the mummification.
And some of them
ritual.
still had mummified organs in them. Yeah. Looked like enormous turds.
Yeah, I mean, they were so shriveled. Yeah. And this is considering as well that the Egyptian museum that we were in was only a fraction of the different artifacts and items, because a lot of them had moved over to the Civilization Museum, which is this new one that's popped up in
but
Cairo
isn't opened
as well.
yet.
Yeah. And yeah, even regardless of that, it was still such a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And we didn't have the time to see it all even, like we had the tour with Hattie and then we got left on our own devices to do our own thing, but I certainly didn't see everything. No. I made a good effort. I was power walking some of it to try and see as much as I could.
Mm-hmm. And there was a bunch of stuff that was also all wrapped up as well.
Yeah.
It was ready to be transported to the Civilization
And then
Museum.
imagine how much stuff they would have had in that basement, bro. Like, there's no freaking way that there weren't vaults of stuff underneath where we couldn't go that would have had more.
Definitely.
You know, one of the things that blew my mind the most about that I don't know if you saw him because I think it was it was after we got given free time, and I think we all kind of went our separate ways. Bryce was with me for a bit. He saw him too. I apologise in advance for this, but they had fucking boomerangs.
I saw that. Yeah.
They had boomerangs. So I'm like, man, either some binning mob from back home come over to Egypt, or some Egyptians went over binning mob back home, because they had freaking boomerangs.
Yeah, I think
they had hunting boomerangs.
Yeah.
So for those of you listeners, you know, your standard boomerang thing is like that even arch that you throw and it comes back to you. But hunting boomerangs that they genuinely used for going after animals and stuff, they were used for kangaroo, emu, like more of your bigger game. It still had the arch shape, but one side was a lot longer than the other. So it kind of looked like a off pickaxe sort of thing or something like that. And they were still thrown and used, but they didn't come back. But they were made of a heavier wood, like ironwood or anything like that, or some denser wood. But they had boomerangs, man, in that Egyptian museum. I wigged out a bit on that. That pulled me up. I stopped there and stood there. I was like, "Holy smoke! What is going on here?" Far out. I just teleported back home, or what? Like, that was weird. I was not, of anything and everything you could have told me I was going to find there. That wasn't it. Far out. That was nuts.
Yeah, so that pretty much what wraps up that day in Cairo.
Yeah.
And the following day. Was
day.
that the train day? Well, in the evening we go to Osman.
Cairo, Pyramids and Sphinx. And then that was when we jumped on the train. That was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah. Very pleasant.
Yeah. Honestly, surprisingly,
Yeah.
that was genuinely pretty good. Like having, and those sleeper. Geez, thank crikey we're on the sleeper carts and not in some chairs. Like that would have been horrendous. Hell no. But that was surprisingly good. So we caught the train from Cairo down to Aswan. Now Aswan is the southernmost great city of Egypt, on the edges of the Nile there, and that was an overnighter. So we caught that. I can't even remember what time it was. Late afternoon, early evening. So, and even the feed on there, like Hattie was saying to us, it's like aeroplane food. Man, if airplane served you food like that, you'd be chuffed. Like, that was way better than any food I've gotten on a plane.
Yeah.
It's not like gourmet meal, but better than plane food, far out.
Yeah.
And then had our tiny little rooms with our bunk beds. And did an overnighter, and I think arrived in Aswan 9:30 in the morning. And so we went from Dahab up to Cairo, the capital, and then we just shot straight down to the south and went to the southernmost city.
Yeah. And Aswan, it's not very big, I'd say. I mean, if you're comparing it to Cairo...
Well, after Cairo.
But we go to a few of the different temple sites there.
Yeah. We went to the so that was the one. We were in the hotel next to the bazaar, weren't we?
Yeah.
The Nubian Bazaar. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Cleopatra Hotel.
Yeah, Cleopatra Hotel. That's it. Yeah. Talk us through, man. What did we do in Aswan? And I'm putting that on you, bro, because I at this point don't even know if I completely remember correctly.
Well, because you didn't end up going to Abu Simbel the day after. Because that was basically the majority of the day for the ones that did go.
Yeah, I chose the day off, didn't I?
You needed to chill out.
Yeah.
But the day before that, did we not do a temple then?
Can't remember.
Oh, Philae Island. Yeah, Philae Temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we take our bus and then ride in a motor canoe.
Yeah.
To Philae Island where the temple is. And
I didn't come and do that though either. I didn't come and do the temple, did I? Oh,
you did.
yeah,
no, we all
sorry.
did. Yeah.
Temple of Isis.
Yeah.
That was the Temple of Isis. We only did the Temple of Isis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
That had, Egyptian Isis Temple. That was the one. So it used to be in another spot, and the other spot was like 300 or 400 meters away. But when who's the mob up the Nile, down south, but up the Nile? Ethiopians. When the Ethiopians built the dam, it flooded the Nile, and the Temple of Isis went underwater.
Yeah.
So they pulled it down, brick by brick, block by block, and then levelled out that other island about 300 or 400 metres away, built it up, and then rebuilt the temple brick by brick, block by block. So it's now standing back up above the Nile and there. So yeah, no, we did that. That was cool. That was nice. I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked a bit of the history there. And that was built with some Greek/Roman features to it as well.
Yeah.
That was after the Greeks and Romans had a little bit of input. So I think that was built around. That was just a bit after AD, wasn't it? That was built, I think, because that had,
So it'd be 1st or 2nd century AD.
Yeah, something, I think it was first, they said, yeah. So, no, that was cool.
Yeah.
That was
Not
nice.
a historian, by the way, just
No,
put that disclaimer out there.
If we're getting any of these dates wrong, man, don't hold us against. Don't hold it against us.
We're vastly
We'll get Hattie in here. He can tell you the year that stuff happened. But all right, we've had a lot of stuff thrown at us.
Yeah.
No, that was cool. That was nice.
So the day after me and a few of the guys, the gang, we end up going on a 4-hour bus ride from.
That's right. That's why I pulled out of it. Because there was 4 hours each way, and you were only going to have 2 hours at the temple, and I was like, nah.
I think at the end it was like 2.5. But still, the ratio is a bit off.
Yeah.
But, so we did that. I think we woke up at 4-ish in the morning.
Yeah, like 4:40 or something. You had to be at the bus.
Yeah. And take a 4-hour ride. We had to stop over at one of those little rest stops, and the usual. But then arrive at Abu Simbel, and probably my favorite tombs, just because like the outer structures. I mean, you've probably seen the photos, but they have, I believe it's Ramses II is the main tomb. And then there's his wife, Nefertari, who has the adjacent tomb. And the Ramses tomb were these 4 big, is it reliefs or like busts of him as he's aging. And so you'd have like young, and progressively until these old versions of Ramses. And you go inside, really intricate paintings, the pillars, and just really, at least because at that point it just felt like a lot more, not extravagant, but just, I don't know, it felt cooler compared to, say, like a Philae Temple. And not to say Philae Temple isn't great,
but it's also one of the more real iconic places.
It is.
Like, it's the place for anyone listening that, like, it's the one, you've seen a photo and it's just a massive stone temple-looking thing with the 4 great statues sitting out the front, and the entryway is between them in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, when you see so it was iconic. Like, so you went to, like the Great Pyramids of Giza, you went to one of the more iconic places in Egypt. Yeah,
and I think there's a reason why Intrepid would even have this as an optional activity. It's a 4-hour ride one way.
Yeah.
So there has to be some sort of payoff.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I weighed it up, I really did, but I just
Which is fair. So we go through the 2 tombs, and then there's a little bazaar area for those that want to get pissed.
Harassed. Harassed.
Pick up something for the kids. That's available for you.
There are so many options to pick up something for the kids. There are so many options to pick up something for the kids.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't regret going. I think everyone that was there managed to take something from it.
Yeah.
And on the way back, I think a good thing as well, if you're able, or one of the types of people to be able to do that, is you can just sleep on the bus as well.
Yeah. Well, you all did from when you got back. Yeah, you all had a snooze on the way out there.
Exactly.
And I think a couple of you had a snooze on the way back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was great. I don't recall if there was anything after that.
That's when we went on the Felucca, mate.
Was that right after?
Yeah. Because you guys got back at like 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then, like the next day was when we went on the Felucca.
Oh.
Wasn't it? No, really.
Trying to think back.
Yeah, no, that was nothing happened after that. We had a free afternoon.
Okay,
We stayed there that night.
Yeah.
And then the following day, we had a lie-in.
Yeah.
And then midday. So everybody had a slow morning.
That's right.
And then, midday we walked 2 blocks to the Nile.
Yeah.
And we got on a Felucca.
Egyptian sailboat.
And a historically ancient Egyptian sailboat. That was, man, I love that. That was like one of my highlights. That was so good.
The sail is huge, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't even think that ratio worked. Like, it, to me, looked like it would just topple. But they make it work. So.
You almost need it because we were fighting against the wind. So when because we jumped on the Felucca, and that night we were doing a homestay. We were staying with a Nubian family up the Nile a bit, or down the Nile. So for everybody listening, the Nile travels south to north. So it's funny to see, you can say up the Nile as if you're heading north, but you're actually going down the Nile. And if you go up the Nile, you're actually going south, which some people say it's a bit confusing. But So we went down the Nile. So it started at 12. I think we got there at about, I think we only sailed for 4.5. I think we got there about 4:30.
Yeah, I think so. Got
off the boat. But even that was really impressive because so I spoke to Hattie about it. So as I said earlier, because I've been in marine logistics and been living on islands for the water, the ocean, everything's been a massive part of my life for almost a decade. So talking to him, so I talked to him about the wind, because the wind was going north to south, like it was a northerly. And I spoke to him about it, and that's pretty much the wind all year round. He said, for a little bit of the year it changes, but that's pretty much what you're working with. So while we were going with the current, we were going against the wind. So we were tacking the whole way, one side of the Nile to the other, bang, 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 bang. Yeah. And we didn't end up really going that far. Like, they took it easy because we were tacking all the rest of it. Like, we could still see the towers of that northern mosque of Aswan from where we got off on the western side.
A little landmark for us.
Yeah, so we had an idea of where we were, how far we'd come. And then, beached the Felucca, and...
Yeah, was that day 1 or day 2 on the Felucca?
That was day 1.
It was, right?
That was the first day, just the afternoon. And then, and
swimming in the Nile.
Bryce, that was day 2, bro. That was the next day. And Bryce had a drive. That was terrifying. For everyone listening, Bryce, you're never going to listen to this because you're not tech savvy, so I can say it, and I'd say it to your face anyway, and you know it. But Bryce is like 5 foot nothing, and weighs 50 kilos, dripping wet. So this little fella, and then like the Felucca's got a big ass sail, and it's a tiller steer, like just a big log
It's a log,
practically
yeah.
to hold on to and move around, and that fellow just did not have the weight in himself and the strength, but also paying respect to the old boy. That's the 73-year-old we're talking about. Like he had a solid crack, but Muhammad, our captain, was aware watching him, and more than once I had to get up and help him pull it one way or the other because
I think he was just laughing most of the time.
Yeah, he's just
This is like a comedy act.
Yeah. And then so we pulled up down the river and had those two little buses come and pick us up.
Mm-hmm.
Two little Toyotas are everywhere. Yeah. And they took us to the Nubian family homestay. That was really good.
Yes.
I mean, I like doing homestays when I've been on tours or when I've gone around, like, because you get a feel for the people, for what it's like. But it was also like there's been other homestays where you're sleeping on a mat on the floor in some open room and mozzies everywhere and it's horrible. But they had 4 rooms. They had 19 beds. There was 14 of us, so we spread out. So they weren't. We had air conditioning. The size of those air cons, man.
They were monsters.
They were industrial sized air conditionings. Like they were not messing about.
Yeah.
They were. If you had one of them blowing the felucca up the river, you would have been sweet. The amount of air those things were pumping out, far out.
Oh, the little kids.
Yeah, and the kids. Yeah, I had fun with the kids, playing with the kids, kicking the soccer ball around and throwing it up in the air for them and picking them up and spinning them around and all the rest of it. I was knackered by the end of it. I was like, right, my turn to rest now.
But you're pretty much to them like Aussie Santa.
Yeah. Aussie young Santa.
Yeah.
Before he got grey and before he met Mrs. Claus.
Yeah,
That's the one. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that was cool. The dinner was pretty good, I thought. Like they did a good feed, the ladies there.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I mean, you can chime in as well, but
No, please.
I think just thinking back to all of the different homestays that I've been with this year, I've not had a single bad home cooked meal.
Yeah.
They're all good.
Yeah. I'll back that up.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of homestays, not so much on this trip, but previously. And like the homestay itself might not have been the best, but the food is never bad. Sometimes it's simple as hell, like it's such a simple feed, but you know,
it's made with love.
It's made with love. It's genuinely made with love. They put their heart and soul into it. They want to cook you a good food like that, and I think that's what I like about them. Like, if you have a homestay experience when you can say, "Oh, that wasn't great," but the experience is being there with them. That's how they live. That's their life, that's their world, and I think that's a fantastic thing for anyone to have. You know, I mean, I've grown up in communities in out bush, and so for me, even the ones that I've had were bad, were like, oh yeah, it's like camping, like you know, whatever, it's not even that bad. But
True.
I've known people that are a bit more ritzy, come from some money and are used to a nicer way of life, and they have a hard time with it. And some of them I've met and spoken to are like, you know, just hated it, just couldn't, like, it was horrible, never wanted, wish I hadn't done it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then I've even met some that, again, were ritzy and came from money and whatnot, but they could appreciate the fact that it's the experience. It's going there, it's having that and all the rest of it. But yeah, no, totally back up what you said. Never had a bad feed. Never had a bad feed. Certainly didn't have one that night.
Yeah, that was great.
That was grouse, man. That was good. That was a good spread too. Like there was heaps of stuff. You know, rice, potatoes. What's that eggplant dish? Moussaka.
Yeah.
Chicken. And then they made us. What were the things for dessert?
There were these little phyllo pastry rolls that they filled with some syrup and some cream of some sort, like maybe slightly whipped cream.
What's they're called? There's a name for them, but I can't think what that is now. But yeah, they were yummy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just little bite-sized pockets of goodness.
Yeah. Oh, that was really nice.
And then, so we leave the Nubian household
the next morning,
get back on the felucca.
and then we had the day. We had the day on the boat,
Yeah.
sailing down the Nile, and we slept on it that night, and that was such a good day.
Yeah.
I drove that day, and I drove well. Just saying, not tooting my own horn or anything.
You did, can confirm.
Bryce, mate, you know, that was the thing when being big like me, it came in handy because I could wrestle the tiller and put us where we needed to go. And it was good too because after a little while, Muhammad just sat back having a coffee and a smoke and just let me go.
He was
I don't have to wash
you.
you. Yeah. I gave him a break for a bit.
Yeah.
Jeez, my ass hurt though after I did not realise, but sitting on that tiller and working it, putting it back and forwards, it was like the next day, my ass hurt.
There's no cushion on it.
It's just a
log.
a hard log.
Yeah.
And you're moving, you're constantly moving with it, your legs moving, so it's just, and I might be a bigger bloke, but I don't have a lot of cushion on my butt, so my butt was hurting.
Yeah.
But that was such a great day.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I mean, you know, for any of you guys listening, if you follow Lionel or whatever and you see photos and stuff that he puts up, the felucca is you get on the bow, you get on the front, and there's a dunny up the front, a toilet up the front, and a little space where Fahid, our chef, did the cooking, and then the majority, and then there's a little bit at the stern at the back of the boat where the tiller is and where Muhammad works that. And then it has a hard canopy that you can go up on top and sit on and stand on. But underneath that canopy is just cushions. Large cushioned area that, what do you reckon? Like 5 metres, 5 metres wide and even 6 metres wide. 5-6 metres wide and what do you reckon, 10 metres long?
6 by 10?
Yeah?
Yeah.
And it was just a cushioned undercover space that had, you know, opening on the side, so you just saw everything. You were relaxing on cushions in shade. We had drinks, like some of us brought our own drinks, but you paid extra to have them bring drinks for us. So we had like mixers and water brought for us, so they were in the eskies, in the chili bins, keeping cold, and it was so good. It was such a good, that for me, I absolutely just peaked that day. I loved that day, man. That was sick.
Oh yeah, I loved it too.
I was back on the water, back on the boat. Yeah, we all enjoyed that. And then we slept on the boat that night. We moored the boat up on the western shore. Some slept, yeah.
No, I think that was the only con for people on the felucca was, I think at some point during the evening, it was like a snoring symphony.
Yeah. And then the people that stayed up later than everyone, like I stayed up later than most of them, but I wasn't talking. I was just laying up top, staring at the stars. But we had Tim and Brent and Brooke and Leanne just gas bagging at the back of the boat. And it was like, guys, and I think it was Sparkles, wasn't it? At some point, it's like, guys, it's like whatever time we're trying to sleep, you need to shut it and go to bed. I don't think anybody got a wicked night's sleep. I mean, there was a few of us, and when you're all sitting down and all the rest of it, you had a lot of space, but when you're all laying out trying to sleep, you know, I suppose it got a little bit tight with 14 of us in that space. But I loved the experience. It was wicked. Yeah. Had the sunset on the boat, sang Hadi happy birthday for his birthday.
Sure.
Sang
Muhammad's
birthday, Mum's birthday, and was it Jackie's birthday? Yeah. So everyone had birthdays within a few days of this happening.
I think that's the most consecutive happy birthday songs.
Yeah, man, 4.
Yeah,
4 of them, one after the other, bang, bang, bang.
A lot of hip hip hooray.
Had the sunset moored up, slept overnight, and then woke up at Sparrow's Fart to enjoy the sunrise over the Nile from the felucca, and we just shimmied from the western shore over to the eastern shore. Got off the boat and onto a bus, and we were off again. And we were on our way this time to Luxor.
And we arrive at the hotel, get settled again, and was that Karnak Temple?
But not for long. Yeah, we didn't have long, so we had
never long.
Nah, and then that was Karnak.
Yeah, it was Karnak.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so then we head to Karnak Temple, which is another big highlight when you're in Egypt. And that was really great.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was insane.
the giant papyrus pillars
Yeah.
and the main ones going down the walkway being like open papyrus ones,
And then all the ones off to the side,
Being
they all had
closed.
closed
Yeah.
flower caps. Yeah.
and also learning about those like pillar obelisks
The obelisks.
as well.
Yeah.
And the amount, I mean, similar to the pyramids, just the amount of like manpower.
Oh, the effort.
Yeah.
The single piece of granite that got brought up from out of Aswan up the Nile. Like, yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
whole place was just really cool.
And that was a thing that, for those of you listening, the original inner sanctum, I suppose you'd call it, of the Karnak Temple was so big, and then more people over the however many hundreds of years came and added more to it bit by bit.
True. Yeah, it's a very incremental process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one came, did more, another came, did more, and then which one was he? Was it Ramses II, Ramses II that finished it off? Or at least he was the one that had like the war thing when you walked in between the walls, and there was that room over there that had his victories, his statues for his victories and stuff.
Might have been Ramses the Third.
Might have been. I can't even remember.
There are a lot of Ramses.
There's a lot of Ramses.
So
there's a lot of all of them, to be honest with you.
Sure.
You get one of the names and there's 14 of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was phenomenal. And I did like, I think, you know, there's been a few places we've been to where, and Hattie's amazing. I cannot reiterate enough how extraordinary a guide he's been.
Mm.
But just because we've had so much going on and had to cram so much in, having, you know, we get to a place, he guides us around, and then we usually only have a short amount of time, free time. But that, he took us around, he gave us stories, gave us information, and then we had a good over an hour to just wander around and
See what you want to see.
yeah, go where your feet take you and see what's around. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I just went off on my own, and I mean, at one point I ended up back in amongst those pillars and just sat over away from everyone, like in a space where there weren't people, and just sat and leaned against one and appreciated where we were. That was extraordinary.
Yeah, I ended up during the free time going with Sparkles to this
Ptah's
temple of Ptah.
Ptah's temple, yeah.
And-
Ptah's a god of creation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was Ptah and Sekhmet, which is another one of the Egyptian goddesses. I'm not sure responsible for it, but yeah, that was a really cool thing. Just not in the
Because it
main
wasn't in the
temple
main
area.
thing. I saw you was walking off
Yeah.
towards it, yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean, yeah, Karnak is great.
Yeah.
And, yeah, well worth. If you're in Luxor, then you're gonna go anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
you
there's
would.
no way you're not going.
Yeah, well, you've got Karnak Temple and Luxor
There's
Temple.
Luxor Temple too. Yeah.
But yeah, Karnak just, next level.
Mm-hmm.
Next level. That's one of those ones where you don't miss that. If you go to Luxor, you go to Karnak Temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And following day.
Valley of the Kings. What did we do the following day, Lionel? Talk us through it, mate.
So we end up going to the Valley of the Kings, which are a bunch of underground tombs.
No, sorry everybody, he's leading you astray. What did we do on the morning of the Valley of the Kings, mate?
Oh my gosh, how did
Holy
I forget that?
crikey.
I'm sorry.
Alright, nah, this
Yeah.
is, smack you silly boy. Come on,
Okay.
son.
So we wake up at the crack of dawn.
Wake up at the crack of dawn. The
Yeah.
crack of dawn was still hours away. This was another one of them 4 o'clock up and at him on the bus by 4:40.
Yeah. Does
To
the crack
do-
of dawn actually count as like sunrise?
Yeah,
I thought it was
dawn.
just like...
Dawn, the crack of
Okay.
dawn is dawn. The moment the dawn starts, that's the crack of dawn.
Okay. Okay, then well before the crack
Well
of dawn.
before the crack of dawn.
My apologies. And we end up taking a bus and then a boat to another bus to take us to the balloons.
Hot air balloon.
Yeah.
In
because-
Luxor, above the Valley of the Kings.
Yeah, because 6 of us had chosen to opt into this experience.
Yeah, this was another one of our add-on extras,
Yeah.
if you chose to do it, yeah.
And so eventually after, the typical Egyptian bureaucracy, whatever, hold up, we end up getting to the balloons and we're there as they start, firing up.
Yeah,
and
man, it was just a
inflating.
sea of all empty balloons laying up, and then
Yeah.
they start. And we were talking about it. I wasn't expecting them to get them going that fast.
It was really fast.
That was
Yeah.
fast. They did not dick about.
Mhm.
Yeah, they got it going.
And if we weren't the first...
We were.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure we were the
Okay.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were the first in the air. So we were a 20-person carriage.
Yeah.
21 including the pilot, captain guy.
Yeah.
And have the opportunity to witness the sun rise over the Valley of the Kings while we're
Yeah.
in...
Well, that was coming
Yeah.
from the other way.
Yeah.
But sunrise, like out over the Nile, from the deserts of Egypt up over the Nile,
Yeah.
and shining on the Valley of the
Yeah.
Kings,
Yeah.
while we were in hot air. That was pure magic.
Yeah.
And the opportunity that we had being the first up in the air of also watching the others rise up with us and all that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was so good.
That was really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, our captain was really cool, really funny guy.
Yeah, he was easy going, eh? He
Yeah.
pointed out a couple of things to us as well.
And
Joked around a bit.
yeah, I also really enjoyed the fact that so there were 6 of us, but because we had a 20-person carriage, and all the balloons are divided into quarters, and Wolf was separated from our group of 6 to join another.
Because I was the biggest.
Yeah. Another group, but he was still adjacent to us.
Yeah,
so,
I was next to us, yeah.
But it was him, 2 Hong Kong girls, and this Japanese couple. So Wolf and 4 small Asian people.
I felt like a Tyson, man.
Yeah.
Especially those 2 little Hong Kong girls.
Yeah.
They were tiny. Like,
They
they
were
come
tiny.
up to my chest.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, that was really cool. You got to take photos of all of us with with them as well.
Yeah, did a group shot, took photos for them as well.
Yeah.
There was heaps of good photos and videos taken there, man.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So
And
yeah.
I got to be in the corner of the basket with a couple of pretty girls. I mean, that's nice.
Yeah,
No funny
thanks,
business, but it was still nice.
Yeah.
Nice to be around the fairer sex.
True.
After being stuck travelling with me mother and all of you grotty, stinky old blokes, eh? Far out.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a really good way to kick off the day.
Yeah. And we had a good flight too. Like, we were up there for a bit. It wasn't just an up and down.
Yeah.
And then
We
even
had a
coming down, he took us back up again
second
for a little
wind.
bit.
Yeah,
Second
yeah.
wind to find us a better landing space. So we were the first up, and we weren't the first down.
Mm.
There was a few others that got down before us.
Yeah.
And then, now we go to the Valley
Yeah.
of the Kings. Oh, I cannot believe you forgot that, mate. Far out.
I'm cooked, I don't know what to say.
Far out. Hard to find good help these days, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I tell you. Hey?
So, yeah, after the hot air balloon ride, we join up with the other group members and then take our bus to the Valley of the Kings, which are a series of underground temples of
62 so far.
62 for now temples
For now.
of varying shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
And the most famous one being Tutankhamun's tomb, which you...
And the most recent.
Right. You have to pay a separate ticket for, because it's not covered by the regular entrance ticket.
And the regular entrance ticket got you into 3. You had a variety of tombs you could choose from, but the regular ticket only got you into 3 of them, so you had to pick which ones you wanted to do.
Yeah. Although Jackie, one of our other group mates, found a
loophole.
Bit of a loophole where a lot of these entrance tickets to these various temples and other structures.
They all
very
look
similar.
the same. They all look the same. A couple of them are in different sizes, but they all look the same.
Yeah. And so she had inadvertently brought out a ticket from the day before, and the guy with the stamp does not care at all.
Nah, the guys at the entrance to each one just had a hole punch.
Yeah.
So you got a 1 hole punch, 2 hole punch, 3 hole punch, and that's been in your 3 tombs.
Yeah.
But
So
little Miss Jackie, the sneaky little woman, eh?
So yeah, she gets her wrong ticket punch, which actually would have allowed her to see a 4th temple if she wanted to.
Yeah. And she didn't do it, did she?
No.
That boggles my mind. Like, what are you doing, darling? I'm far out, man.
So yeah, we end up filling our quota for the 3 temples, then going to Tutankhamun's tomb, and I did not expect the mummy to be there.
I knew it was there only because when we were in the museum in Cairo, they said that the mummy was back in his tomb. They had his exhibit had all of his stuff, but he was back in his tomb.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't.
So I was expecting that part. Yeah.
Gotcha. And it kind of freaked me out.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you hear about this really famous figure from back in the day, and then you're seeing this really like blackened because of the whole mummification process, like sunken eyes, but clearly still there. And I remember like taking photos of it, but then I think a few days later I was like going through the photos again, seeing those pictures, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna delete them.
Really?
Yeah.
Fair income. Yeah, okay.
I was too unnerved by it, really.
Yeah, righto.
And you hear all these things about when Hardy was at the museum with us and talking about like the curse and people having random illnesses and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm good, So, yeah, I didn't even want to risk it.
Yeah, pickle, man.
I saw it. I don't even want to show that picture to people back home anyway.
You don't want any bad juju following you around.
I don't want that smoke. I'm good. I forgot the name of
the fancy one we went into. Yeah, I can't remember either because it wasn't one of the big main names that you hear about, but his tomb was phenomenal. Yeah. It was long, it was windy, and the detail in it was absolutely exponential. Like, I when we went down into the first time, same as everyone else, I was taking photos, and then when I got to the end and finished the photos, I went back to the start, man, and took a video. Yeah.
I saw you starting
back
the video.
down again. Yeah. So that was just mind-boggling. Yeah. That was mind-boggling. How just extensive and detailed, and I think that more than anywhere else we went, other than perhaps Karnak Temple, gave me the impression of, oh my God, what would this have looked like when it was done, when it was made, because it still had good colour now. And seeing those colours and seeing what it was like, that I was just, holy shit! Like if I could, would have seen this back when it was in its heyday when it was made, that just would have been, wow, absolutely wow. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, the fact that the colours were retained so well. It was really just like the sheer grandeur of that tomb. Yeah, I was definitely awestruck.
Yeah. And then that other one, like the third tomb we went into, which was the biggest, had very little left of its original art and stuff left, but it was massive and went down a long way, like it was huge. And I remembered asking Hattie when we got out of that, I said to him, why is there such a vast margin between how that one looks and this one looks? And it's not that I disbelieve him. I absolutely don't. I do believe him that it's part of it, but I don't know if it's the full thing, because he was saying that. So when you go there, they chop and change which ones are open to the public. So if we come back here in 5 years' time and go there again, we won't necessarily be able to go into the same ones we went to. We'll go into different ones, so that the humidity and the breath and the oxygen and carbon dioxide that we breathe out as we go into them, because that affects things in pools. So he was saying that the reason the biggest one was so not amazing in its artwork and stuff left as opposed to the other one is because of people going down in there. But I just wonder if perhaps, it wasn't done as well, maybe, like it was a different team, it was a different era, different king's time, so different teams did it. Or if, because he said in a lot of places we've been about earthquakes having impact and stuff, so if maybe that impacted it or something. But I mean, the vastness of that third one was, blokes with chisels did this, like what the actual F, this makes no sense. But yeah, the grandeur of that other one, that second one, that was insane. That was insane. Yeah. I mean, if for anyone listening, if you ever want to paint something and you want it to last, make your paint out of gemstones. That's all I got to say, man. That's what they did.
It's as easy as that.
Yeah, that's what they did. Like, just because it'll be there 2,000 years later.
Yeah, and then so after the Valley of the Kings, we go to, what was her name? Hatshepsut.
Yeah.
Hatshepsut?
Queen Hatshepsut. Yeah, nice work. Hey, well done.
That's a redemption for
well
the
done. Yeah. I don't know if I'm proud of you for remembering that over the hot air balloon, bro, but it's more impressive to remember the name, I'm not going to lie.
You know how I remember it, though, is as I was kind of traversing around, there was this private guide with some dude.
Yeah.
And he just said, just think hat, ship, and suit.
Suit, hat, ships. It's always good when you get word association to help. Yeah, for sure.
So, shout out to that guy. Random
guy. But that was impressive too, and because the difference in its construction and look to anything else we saw, and her story, like that. Oh,
that's rough.
What a little fucker. I apologise if I'm ruining your podcast with swearing. I think I'm doing quite well at taking it down.
Are, yeah.
But that little fucker. Yeah. So for you guys listening, Queen Hatshepsut, so she was the wife of the king, and he passed away, and the blood of royalty went down through the female line, but a king had to rule. They didn't let women rule. So she married her half-brother because her father, the previous king, it was her father that died, not her husband. So her father died. She couldn't rule, but she had the bloodline of royalty. Her half-brother did not have the bloodline because he was the son of a different woman, of not the queen, of his second wife. Yeah. So she had to marry her half-brother for them both to be able to rule. And she outlived him, but she was, for anyone listening that's followed ancient Egypt stuff at all, she was, I don't know if there were more, she's the one I've heard of previously, anyway, that she dressed as a man, so had her look, had a fake beard and all the rest of it, and pretended to be a man, so to allow her to rule. But her half-brother, her husband, so she only gave him 2 daughters, and he, like their father, wanted a son, so he got another wife and had a son with her. and he passed away. So Hatshepsut, he passed away and left behind his son, who I think Hattie said was 5 or 6 at the time.
Yeah.
And Hatshepsut looked after him. So it's her stepson / nephew, because royalty, inbreeding. It's not the first time it's happened. She looked after him. She took him in. She didn't discard him. Didn't disband him. She raised him. Gave him.
When she could have.
Yeah, she could absolutely could have. Like she could have seen him as a potential threat to her and to her children and all the rest of it, and should have just buried him in a hole and no one would have known or cared. She would have gotten away with it. Yeah, like he just would have disappeared from the annals of history. Took him in, gave him the best education she could, got him into the military, and was aiming to make him one of, if not the greatest general of her armies, and sent him east, to Western Asia to battle her foes there and all the rest of it. And when he returned from those, I don't know what you'd call it, crusades, those battles, whatever, campaigns, that's the better word. When he returned from those campaigns, and this is something that I've asked extensively. There's no recordings, there's no records, there's no histories, there's nothing about why he did what he did. But he came through and abolished everything that she'd built, things she physically built, like temples, statues of her. If there were carvings of her, he went through and destroyed her temples, or if there were temples that were to other gods that he wasn't willing to destroy the temple, he chiseled off and defaced everything that depicted her. Like Karnak Temple was a prime example. Anywhere she was in Karnak Temple, she was scratched off where everything else was left. And again, it's not proven because there's nothing recorded, but it's pretty self-explanatory that he had her assassinated, like he's killed her and taken over. Like, what a little fucker. Just, and this the Hatshepsut's temple, her tomb, her temple that she had built, he trashed it. He came through and destroyed it. It's like, so the thing that we came and saw, I asked Hattie how much of it was still there, how much of it was rebuilt, and he said almost half was rebuilt. So almost half of what we saw was totaled. Like, he just came through and destroyed half the temple. Like, that I found that really interesting and just savage, and all the stories and the histories show that she was well loved. She made, during her reign, during her rule, things got better. People were better off, things were better. Like, she was renowned for being good and just and all the rest of it, and he, I don't know, didn't like it, whatever the case may be, but came and tried to wipe her out from the history of everything. Jeez, dirty little bugger. But yeah, that was an extraordinary temple in the way of it being different from everything else we saw, I think.
The form, it really stands out when you're looking from a distance as well.
Yeah, because we actually built it in that couldn't call it a canyon, but at the base of that mountain that also hugs it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was phenomenal. That was cool to see. Bloody hot though.
Oh yeah. I think I got a heat rash that day. I had a few bumps
spots from that. Yeah, that was a hot day. That was a hot day.
Was there anything else that day? Or
nah. That was it.
So I don't think you were you at the restaurant? So I
didn't come with you to the restaurant.
Okay. For dinner that night, I managed to catch up with one of my friends from, well, technically she's a Kiwi as well, but we met in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And she's on a different tour doing Egypt and then Jordan.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I didn't know that.
But then in Egypt, she was basically lagging a day behind our itinerary.
Yeah, okay.
And because we were in Luxor for 2 nights, there was overlap on that first one.
Yeah, okay.
Or her first one, our second one. And so, yeah, we go to that rooftop restaurant really close to our hotel, and then I have a really good catch up. So
yeah, wicked, man.
In Egypt.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
2 Kiwis that live in Melbourne caught up in Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah, wicked.
Yeah, shout out to Skylar. That was really surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just hanging
Yeah, sick.
in Luxor. Yeah.
Yeah, righto.
Yeah, next.
Next was Haggadah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, was that when you had, no, you were already feeling the queasiness before then, right?
No, I think that was when it started for me.
It was on that day?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Because for me, there was something at breakfast.
Yeah, okay.
That
It might have been the day before, like our last day in Luxor, maybe, that I'd started to feel a bit funny.
Okay, yeah.
But it was either that day or that day. It was somewhere around there.
I mean, there were a bunch of us that were feeling it.
Yeah.
And
But I didn't get it. If everyone else was there, I was the day after.
okay.
Everyone else was like, oh yeah, not feeling well, and I was still good that day. And then the next day I started getting a bit, how you going?
Right.
Yeah.
Because the bus ride to Hurghada,
No,
Basi-
there was that day. I had
Yeah,
a
you
hard,
were feeling it.
I had a hard
For sure.
time with
Yeah.
that bus ride too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was getting like really bad stomach cramps on the bus as soon as we sat down, basically, and I was just like focusing on like, trying to stay calm and not, have anything kind of shake me the wrong way.
Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully, nothing happened. We ended up getting to the hotel in Hurghada, which was a really nice hotel, overlooking the sea once again.
Yeah. We went back to the Red Sea.
Yep.
Hurghada, yeah.
But then, I think the rest of that day I was just out of commission.
Well, that was a big driving day. Like that was 7-8 hour drive.
Yeah, 7 hours.
To get to Hurghada.
Yeah. And man, I'm also really thankful that Sean, one of our other tour members, he had these pills that I don't think you can buy in Australia. It's called Anna something. But yeah, it was basically like anti-diarrheal pills. And yeah, he gave me a bunch, and those were really a magic bullet.
Saving grace.
So I remember taking 2 that night, and then the day when you guys went out on the boat, which is the following day, I chose to just stay back and rest, because there was also the idea in my head where if it was overly choppy on the boat and my motion sickness kicked in, I would have just been completely miserable.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to drag down the team morale.
Yeah.
So.
And you'd at least had the experience of the Blue Hole, like of having the snorkeling in the Red Sea and doing
Definitely.
that.
So of all the days, I knew for my own sake.
That was the day.
Yeah, I would need to sacrifice it because the following day was also
a big driving
trip.
day. Yeah.
And
Well, see, now I can't talk about the day on the boat too well and make it sound too good. Cause
But yeah, I was gonna segue into that because I wasn't there. But how did you find the boat?
It was good. I mean, so got on the bus in the morning. Took off. Didn't take too long to get there. Only took us again about a 45-minute drive. Pulled up, got our flippers and snorkels and masks. Had a hard time because they didn't have flippers big enough for me, Brent, and Sean. I think like I've got the bigger feet out of the lot, but those two are only like a size smaller than me. So we were all making do with small fins, and then got on the boat, and the boat was like a pretty decent sized yacht. Like it was.
It looked big.
Yeah. It was surprisingly, and it was awesome that we had it privately to ourselves. There was room to move around and do our own thing, and it was a good couple of hours steam out to the first place.
Yeah.
And when we got there, and holy crikey, man, Hurghada has money, or people in Hurghada, or people away from Hurghada, but there is money in Hurghada because we were on that boat, and even when we were getting taken out to the boat and like the little tinny, that wasn't a tinny, but the dinghy that took us out to it, it was one of 15 of boats like it, some slightly smaller, some a bit bigger.
Yeah.
And then you go out to the first spot and there's already half a dozen other boats there. But you get out there, got in the water, dropped in, had a good snorkel around there. It did get a bit rough because there was no shelter from anything. So a couple of people had PFDs on, life jackets on. But that was cool. And then back on the boat and took off, and it was only 45-minute steam to the next one. Again, there was just so many boats out there, and even around, not even around us, there was always boats around us, but just out, you just look out and they were peppered. There is so much, stupendous amounts of money around Hurghada there in the water. Had another swim there, and there on that second boat. So for you guys listening, Hattie, our tour guide, he's from a small village out in the desert. Like, he's proper Egyptian. He's a proper rigid Egyptian bloke. Yeah. Comes from a small village out in the desert.
Yeah, close to Libya.
West Egypt, yeah. And can't swim. He doesn't swim. When we talk to him about it, he says he can run really fast across the sand, but swimming is not his thing. But we got him into the water at that second stop, and even got him to let go of his first time ever letting go of the boat. I had one of those little orange rings that I had the rope. Yeah, lifesaver. So had that experience with him, which was cool. And then after that second one, that's where they cooked us up a mad lunch. There was a good feed there, fish and pasta and rice and some salad and stuff. Yeah. And then we went to the third spot because we were doing 3 spots in the day. And that the first two were we had a bloke off the boat come in and guide us around, and then the third one was just kind of more of a free-for-all, get in and go where you want. Yeah. So I obviously took off, went on my own devices. Yeah. And that was really good, had a good amount of time there. And everyone was in really good spirits, it was such a good day. And then on the way back, because a couple of times during the day, the boys on the boat had put on their music that they have here. Yeah. And then on the way back, I said to the captain, master of the vessel, I was like, mate, that Bluetooth you got, He's like, yeah, can I connect my phone? So he took me downstairs, put on my phone, and we had 80s, couple of 90s pub classic songs jarring off the speakers of the boat on the way back. Yeah. It was a really good day. And the only downside was that I got a bit sunburnt and I had my tattoo booked in the next day, so I was a little bit, how you going with that? But got back, and I think everybody had a really good time. There was no issues, no trouble. I had my GoPro again, so I got some more footage of everybody. Yep. And had a really good time. There was no issues, nobody got crook. And then came back from that and saw you again. You were feeling a bit better. You were very happy that you had the day off.
Definitely. I don't regret my decision at all. I think it was the right thing to do.
It definitely was, man. Yeah. And we didn't have anything else that afternoon, did we? That was a free afternoon. Yep. We all chilled out, and the next day was another monster drive from Hurghada back to Cairo.
Yep.
Back to the capital.
And it's just you and me, earbuds.
Yeah.
Bye world.
Yeah, man. Exactly right. When we got back to Cairo, Mum was saying to me, I don't know where I was talking to them in the lobby or something. Yeah. And they were like, oh, yeah, I was like, no. And they were like, oh, didn't you hear that? No. Oh, didn't you hear when he was talking? No. My earbuds are in, man. My music was blaring, or I was watching a movie or something. I was not listening to a damn thing. Yeah.
So we end up going back to the Santana Hotel, which is going to be our only residence
in Cairo. Yeah, because we go back there again when we leave here tomorrow. Yeah, so we got back to Cairo, and that was just a driving day. Like we got back there, and again a free afternoon, I suppose you could call it.
Yeah.
But we didn't get there until I think 3:30.
Yeah.
And then because we got to that market.
Oh, you're right.
We went to the market, and that was where I quickly took off and had to catch an Uber to go and get my tattoo done.
Yes. We'll talk about the tattoo.
Got there just in time.
Yeah.
4 o'clock. So I, as I've said a couple of times, always been mad on coming to Egypt, and I knew before I got here that I wanted to get a tattoo here. But between all the diving and snorkeling we were doing and the places we were going, it was kind of being hard to get one at a point in time where I was going to have like the healing period where it wasn't going to get messed up.
Yeah.
And it had to be that Sunday when we were getting back to Cairo, because then we were coming up here to Alexandria.
Yeah.
And by the time we get back to Cairo after this, even if I got it done that day, when I go to Vietnam next and I've got my bike trip that I'm doing, it wasn't going to be enough time for the healing to take effect. So I had to get it done that day. And Alia, shout out to Alia at the Ink Shop in Cairo. If anybody wants to get tattoos in Cairo, she was amazing. She opened the shop for me and everything. She doesn't usually work on a Sunday. And I got the Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra with a couple of personal tweaks that she helped, like that I had the idea for, that she designed for me on the top of my back. And then after that I met you back at the hotel after you guys did the market. I don't know how your market went.
That's alright.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, well, because as most of the listeners know now, I only have a 40-liter backpack with me, so I have virtually zero space to carry souvenirs of any sort, which makes it really economical for me, because I'm just like...
Oh man, I'm so jealous. Yeah. With all that crap that I'm lugging around, I'm so jealous.
I go to the market, and you just see all this stuff, and you just have in your head, can't fit. It doesn't matter, I can't buy it. And yeah, so because of that, I've saved like so much money. And yeah, but a bunch of people did in our group manage to get a few things. I know Brent got quite a few items of clothing as well.
Yeah, he got stuff for his kids.
Yeah.
Mum got a little pendant. I think the others got others. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really asked. Without sounding too callous, don't really care.
Yeah.
Only in the facet of it's more of what we've seen everywhere else, you know. Like there's not really anything that
there's
was
nothing
gonna
unique.
Be there that we haven't already seen. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for that day in Cairo, and then
slept, and then
the following day we go to Alamein first.
Yeah.
So I think initially we were going to go to Alexandria and then Alamein, but then Hadi had the
great idea.
Yeah. to change up our
itinerary,
so that we would be able to spend this current day today just in Alexandria and have it much more relaxed rather than
doing everything we already did today and then having to punch back out there and do that and come back.
So yeah, we end up going to Alamein and then visiting the War Memorial Museum there, because there was the Battle of the Alamein was here, which I'd heard of.
I've heard the name, but never. Yeah.
I didn't know it was in Egypt.
No, me neither.
So, yeah, that was news.
And they had a lot of stuff like World War II. As well. Yeah.
And
the graveyard.
I didn't even go out.
Neither did I. I stayed on the bus.
Yeah.
I have respect and understanding for the fact that wars have occurred and all the rest of it, but I'm not particularly interested in going through it all, you know. I'm not a war nut or anything like that.
Yeah. But yeah, it really does put into perspective, at least from the museum, the heavy casualties that both sides inflicted on one another,
and how wide ranged it was, you know. Like you hear about the German, like particularly for the Battle of Alamein itself, and then the stuff they had in World War II. Like, I mean, they had the same thing in Jordan, and a couple of other places I've been to. Like even a couple of the small villages in Scotland had like things up about it, and you hear about Germany versus the Allied forces, but it's never actually really depicted in what the Allied forces were. But then going and visiting a site like that, it's like, no, that was far-reaching, man. You know, that had a lot of people involved. There's a lot of people that lost their lives and gave up, sacrificed for all the heavy stuff.
Yeah, and so many were so young as well.
Yeah.
Not even 20.
No.
Like 16, 17.
Yeah. Heavy
So.
stuff.
But yeah, after Alamein, we make it here to
Alexandria, where we find ourselves now.
Yeah.
We have a hotel, we're up, we've got a great view of the harbour of Alexandria. We can see the fort over on the shore, and we can see the space where the lighthouse used to stand. And we kind of crashed out yesterday afternoon. I don't think any of us did much yesterday afternoon after we got here, because it was another big day of driving and travel.
A few people went to the fort.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
during the
Eric and
sunset.
Sean went that, didn't they?
Yeah. But yeah,
Today was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where did we start? Catacombs.
Yeah, catacombs.
Started the catacombs. It was originally a Roman family. The original tomb was for the Roman family, and then it was found like 200 years later by, I think that was when the Arabic mob came through and found it, wasn't it? And then when they found it, they left the part of the tomb belonging to the original Roman family alone, but then expanded the tomb and the catacombs itself to add burial chambers and stuff for their dead over however many years, because it was reasonably extensive. Like, I've been to catacombs that are a lot bigger, but for what I was expecting, it was, there was a lot of twists and turns and a
Very
lot of
sizable.
spaces. And a lot of spaces for the dead. So it was a lot more extensive than I think I was expecting. So no, that was cool.
And then we head to the Library of Alexandria. The modern one.
Dirty tombing. Library of Alexandria, I mean, just a couple of years late to see the original. But what they've built there, that was cool learning about it. I mean, it was strange to find out that they did an international competition for the architecture, like the build of the place, and then finding out a Norwegian company won it. Like, I thought that was a bit strange, but
they did a really good job.
They really did.
Props to them.
The design of it is bloody phenomenal. Outside and inside. I mean, the wall outside, what did she say, has 120 languages.
Okay.
And over 1 million characters. In 120 languages on the exterior of the building, around the wall. That's phenomenal. And then that inside,
1.2 million books.
1.8 million books, and
it can fit way more.
Yeah, we were in there. There's a lot of shelf space. That thing is only going to fill up. But even the design of it, like the 11 floors, and each floor had a specific purpose and reason. Like the base floor being maps and charts, and then the floor up from that had ancient texts that you could only access if you're a PhD or a specialist or a researcher or something, because they're all old, and then up through different genres of books, from history to literature and all the rest of it. They had that floor that was dedicated to he was an Egyptian author, and he was blind.
So there was a visually impaired section.
And then next to that was another section for other special needs, like deaf and other ones there. That was amazing. And the eye shapes of the roof, and the blue and green stained glass just to ease eyes of people reading. Like, that was great.
So well thought out.
I would have happily been left there for the rest of the day. I'm a massive reader though. Like, I can't get enough of it, so I ended up yeah, I found a book and I sat there and read for a bit, and I was lucky, man. I checked the time and it was like 3 minutes to 12 and we had to get out. I was like, oh, damn, I better get outside.
Yeah, such a great resource for the people of the city.
Yeah,
'Cause they can just
absolutely.
go
And
and-
we saw how many people were there,
Yeah.
young and old.
Making
And
use of it.
yeah, and the sheer size of it meant that you could have 2,000 people in there and not feel cramped.
Yeah,
You know, and I think, what did she say? There's like 1,100 computers
something like
and
that.
all the rest of it. Like the resources for the people here is absolutely just out of pocket.
Yeah.
And then there's the planetarium.
Yeah.
That sounded amazing.
Mhm.
And then
The conference center.
the conference centre.
Yeah.
And I must admit, man, I loved it when we come out of the library there and there was all those young school kids,
Oh,
the primary
yeah.
school kids, and one of them was brave enough to come up to me.
Yeah.
It was like, what place is yours, or what's your place?
Yeah.
I was like, Australia. Oh, I love Australia. And
Yeah.
after he had the cojones to come up to me, and the others started coming up to me,
Yeah.
and then I was just talking with all these kids. Oh, what's
Yeah.
your name? Oh, and one of them was like, oh, can you sing? Oh, yeah, sort of. Sing something, anything. Sing something for
Really?
us. Yeah, man, yeah.
That's so funny.
That was great having that interaction with the kids, man. That was wicked.
Yeah.
It was, that was brilliant. That was amazing. And then after the library, what did we do after the library?
That was the mosque.
That was the mosque. Yeah.
So, I forgot this morning to wear long pants.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Did you get in?
I didn't even try.
Oh, you stayed on the bus too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know you were there. I stayed on the bus as well.
Oh, were you on it?
Yeah.
Oh, seriously? I did
Yeah.
not know.
No, I had the singlet on.
Oh.
And I brought a wrap to cover because Hattie yesterday said about shorts beneath the knees and then like not wearing a singlet, like having a shirt like this. But then we're on the bus today. He's like, oh, you got to cover your tattoos. I'm like, I'm tattooed from ankle to wrist, man. I was not gonna try and pull that off.
Right.
So I was like, nah.
Yeah.
You know, I can appreciate that it's look, all for it, but I'm not religious, and I mean, as far as religious places go, I've been inside the Vatican, and that was one thing. So I mean, it would have been cool to go and see, but I was not going to try and pull something out. I couldn't cover myself from ankle to wrist, so that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I was sitting on the bus too.
One thing as well, I guess it comes back to like this massive trip of mine, but after going to Istanbul and seeing the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, and then even
Blue Mosque, that would be interesting.
that was so great. In Casablanca as well, they have the Hassan II Mosque, which again is some crazy feat of engineering. The roof can open.
Yeah, okay, wow.
And just having seen like those behemoths in the mosque world, and then
well, there's and I was the same. Like, 'cause there's the cathedral in it starts with a C. It's a town. I suppose you'd call it a city in Germany.
Okay. Cologne.
Cologne. Thank you. Yeah, I got a couple. I had a couple of German backpackers that worked for me on group. I was managing the golf club out there many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And they were from Cologne. So when I did a Europe trip back in 2018, I stopped in Cologne and saw them, and there's like a massive black Gothic as hell cathedral there, and you know that and a couple others, and the Vatican and whatnot. And like, I mean, you know, the mosque today, cool, it's a big mosque in Alexandria, but it wasn't a thing. You like the places you mentioned, or like that cathedral, like it was a mosque. It wasn't.
Yep.
So I didn't feel like I was missing
Same here.
much.
Hence
And
the
then
bus.
when the others came out, I was like, so, and they're like, you didn't really miss much. So it's
Whelmed.
Like, okay. Yeah, whelmed, very whelmed. And that was it, wasn't it? Did we come back after that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Had some bazooka.
Had some bazooka, man. Bazooka does good chicken.
They do.
Anybody coming to Egypt, come to Alexandria, they do good chicken at bazooka.
They do good chicken in a lot of places. To be honest.
They honestly do, actually. Yeah,
Egyptians know what they're doing.
they do.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, with chicken, not with driving. Well, not with road rules, I should say. No, not with driving in general. And not with a lot of other things. But they do good chicken.
I think my phone's picking up the chaos
the beeps.
that is unfolding.
For no goddamn reason.
Yeah,
You're in a traffic jam where nothing is moving and everybody's just... Oh my golly gosh. Yeah.
It's pure chaos.
Pure chaos. Hell yeah, man.
But yeah, tomorrow we head out in the morning to Cairo.
Back to Cairo.
We'll have some time to just chill out or do whatever really.
Yeah.
And then
Our farewell dinner.
Farewell dinner, which is location to be confirmed.
Yeah.
And then the following day is basically just breakfast for those who want it,
and we finish up.
Yeah, everyone's
go our separate ways. So what's next for you after this?
So I'll be flying that afternoon to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So I'll be 2 nights there, and then I'll be in Dubai for a few nights, and then Oman for a few nights before going below the Sahara to Kenya and Tanzania for my 5th intrepid.
Hey! Just can't get enough.
I'm the poster boy.
And how long's that tour?
Is
Is that one of the big doozies?
That one, no, it's I think it's mid-range. So I think it's 11 or 12 days.
Oh, okay. I was looking at a couple of intrepid tours in Africa that 45 days, 63 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's 10 days. Yeah, it goes from
days.
the 12th to the 22nd, and then that gives me a little window because now I'm flying over to Delhi.
Yeah.
To start basically 8 days going the Golden Triangle, so Delhi, Agra, Jaipur.
Hell yeah.
Before heading to Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah. It continues.
Yeah, righto.
And yourself?
Me, I'm off to Vietnam next.
Yep.
So get back to Cairo tomorrow. Next day when we finish, I've got 2 more nights still in Cairo.
Yeah.
We've got a different accommodation, like from the hotel going up. There's a place we're staying at that's got a view of the pyramids,
Yep.
so just, because we can. And then fly to Hanoi, Vietnam. I've got a few days to just kind of... I think I get there on the 5th. 5th or 6th. I get there on the 5th, and my bike trip starts on the 11th. So I've got 6 days to or 5 days to drink, sleep, eat, and kind of mellow out a bit in a way. And then I've got an 8-day, 8-night off-road bike trip through the wilds of Vietnam, heading northwest out of Hanoi up towards Sapa and around there. And then after that, come back to Hanoi, and I'm probably going to give myself another week in Vietnam. I don't even know yet, haven't made any plans. I'm just going to see where the wind takes me. And then by the start of November, I'll head back to Oz. I've got my dingo, waiting for me back home, so I need to go and pick her back up and win her trust back. Yeah, Dingo no baby. Right? Dingo is my baby. Dingo ate her baby. Dingo is my baby. So there you go. And then figure my life out, because I don't have a job or a missus or a house or anything. So I suppose I go back home and my journey this time around comes to an end. Until I save up enough money and do it again. Hell, by that time, you might still be travelling.
Possibly. Not discounting it.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah. No, if I didn't have Trin to go back to, I'd keep going too. But the woman looking after her is she's going away on her own holiday, kind of the second half of November. So I got to go and get her before then. And yeah. See what happens after that.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
I'm sure it'll be a great adventure, whatever it is.
Always is, bro. Always is.
Let's take a look here.
Woo! Oh, yeah!
That's a doozy.
Broke the record.
Yeah.
Hoorah.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say I've never met someone like you, Wolf. Like, in the best possible way. Just want to...
We were waiting for that clarification, just being sure.
And yeah, you're just such a unique human being. And that's, I think, one of the best things about travel is just meeting people that if you just, stayed in your lane, didn't, put yourself out there,
Yeah.
like, we would never have met.
Hell no.
No.
No, just like
yeah,
in Melbourne. I don't touch cities if I can help it.
Yeah. I think the closest thing would be like an anime convention or something.
Yeah.
That'd be like the slimmest chances.
And now if we see each other, we'll be like, hey! From one end of the building to the other.
You just need to do your call out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There he is.
No, well, I appreciate that, man, and back at ya. It's actually been a genuine pleasure. I mean, like continue on what you said, you meet people from all walks of life when you do stuff like this.
Yeah.
From all sorts of life, like different backgrounds, different likes, different hates, different attitudes, different outlooks. And I think, particularly when you travel the way that we have and we do, I don't think it's too often that you meet people that you just can't stand, honestly, because when you do what we do, I don't know.
It takes a certain type of person.
Yeah. And even when you go to places where there are people that aren't doing what we do, because you're putting out a certain vibe and a sort of certain energy and are doing things a certain way, if you do run into people like that, it's a short meeting and then they're gone. But most of the time is filled with, I think, for the most part, pretty awesome people in all sorts of different ways.
Yep.
And it's been an absolute wicked pleasure meeting you and hanging out with you. Like, it's been grouse.
Yeah.
We've had a good time. We've had good chats. We've hung out. We've seen some absolutely magical things together.
Mental.
Yeah, mental. Absolutely mental. And without, sounding like too much of a sappy prick and blowing smoke up your ass, I'm going to remember this trip to the day I die, and I'm going to remember that Kiwi from Melbourne, Lionel or Leo, that I met along the way, man. Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think same. This whole journey in this part of the world is just, it's unlike anything.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
And yeah, sharing it with you, your mom, and like the rest of the gang has been one of the highlights.
Sweet, man.
Yeah.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been a real good time doing this with you, having this talk.
Yeah, how was your
been
first
great.
podcast experience?
Yeah, my first podcast experience. Yeah, man.
It's usually just, that's kind of how it goes. Like, I wanted to be just like a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been a good one too. Yeah, no, it's been wicked.
So we covered some great stuff. And yeah, hopefully I'll have this up when my trip ends.
And to be honest with you, 3.5 hours just talking about this trip. Imagine if we delved into everything else we'd done.
Right.
Holy shit, the sun's coming up.
Yeah. Literally. But if you have anything else, any final remarks or...
For those of you out there that aren't doing this or haven't done this, just do it. I said at the start, it's a chance worth taking and it's an adventure worth having. And, I think adding to that is exactly what Lionel and I just said about the people you meet along the way.
Yeah.
It's not just the places you go and the experiences you have, it's who you have them with. And I mean, even if you're travelling by yourself, you meet people, you will always meet people along the way. You'll never be lonely, even sometimes when you wish you were. But do it, find because it'll help you find yourself, and you'll go to some places and you do some things and you meet some people and they're not for you, and that's okay. But you're going to go to some places, you're going to do some things, you're going to meet some people that are for you. And it makes it completely and utterly worth it. And, I mean, I'm doing 5 months. This fella here's doing a year. And I know for me this won't be the last time I do this. And it's not the first. It won't be the last. And I'm pretty darn sure you're the same. And we're of an age. I mean, I turned 30 in like 6 weeks. You're 30 next year, so we're of an age, we're doing it, and it's one of those things like you don't have to be 19 or 20 years old to do this. You can start your life. You can, if you're a younger person that is worried about missing out on this stuff because you're getting a job or you feel like you're getting stuck, there's going to be time later. And if you're listening to this and you're a bit older, thinking the time's behind you, we've already told you that we've had people on this tour and around us and whatnot. That's like one bloke's 73. So
it's never too late.
It's never too late. It's never too early. It's never too late. Have a crack. Yeah. Even if at first you don't succeed, you'll have another shot and you'll do it again. Here's a weird one for you. I believe Einstein has a saying of his: the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if you're not happy with where you are and what you're doing, change it. Have a crack at something else. Other than that, man, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, travelling with you, doing this, having a chat, and I'm looking forward to hearing this when you put all this stuff up and all the other podcasts you've done.
There have been some incredible conversations.
Yeah, man, I'm keen.
I think it's just such a great way of capturing this moment, and then way in the future, if you just feel like opening it up and having a listen,
absolutely,
it's always available to you. So,
yeah, hell yeah.
So I think that's a pretty good point to end things on.
Yeah, man, sick.
Yeah, thanks so much for being on this with me, Wolf.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Cheers, man, and I'll catch all you mob later.
Yep.
Be good or be good at it.
All right, guys. Until next time.